On mute. Hi. Welcome back to MathPig ASMR, one of them. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I took a shitload of people's wrench away. Alright? That's since I'm beginning fucking yapped at first and foremost, but it's only Ger. I don't know if anyone really cares about Ger's opinion, but yes, a lot of people lost their wrenches because it was a sea of blue the other day. And I'm sorry, yeah. Sea of blue. So I don't like a sea of blue. If you want to be a different colour, feel free to be a member. You can be green. Oh my god, Emma, please don't tell me I'm on in the TV. Because like she's in her family room with like her auntie and her mother. Hi, everybody in Emma's house. Yes, I wiped a lot of fucking moderators from the channel. There you go, Gert. Good man, good man. So yes, back tonight, open panel. Doing more of the usual sort of thing on the weekends. Gonna try and get everybody in. Everybody's welcome. Christians and theists and believers will get preference because makes it more interesting, more fun. Spartan's there. He says if we're still going in an hour and a half, he'll jump in, which we probably will be. And Skeptic, your link's in the description. But other than that, would you like to give people an introduction? Because like I talk about you because I know you, and I'd be like, oh, Skeptic, who? So, yeah, let everybody know who you are, man. Tell the world.
So, basically, I'm just a skeleton, and by the most part, I just exercise skepticism with regards to a lot of ideas. I don't hold any particular strong positions, especially philosophically. I'm an atheist. I don't really believe in God. I don't really believe in free will. Depending on the definition, I might be considered a mythicist or not. I am not convinced that there was a historical Jesus, but I don't go as far as to posit alternative explanations or anything like that. I just personally don't know. So yeah, just in general, that's mostly what my channel is about. We go through mostly theist videos and just try to give a skeptical perspective, not necessarily an atheist perspective, but a perspective of someone who's new to these subjects and new to these conversations, just to point out how much people will talk past each other when they're explaining especially spiritual, philosophical things. And so they will say, oh yeah, God, that thing that's outside of time and space. And I'll be like, wait, what does that mean? Before we get to the specifics of religion, we have to understand that. So
okay, well, I'm going to poke a wee bit then, because you've said something that makes me lean towards what I used to believe that you would be. I always would describe you as an atheist, so it would be an interesting conversation. And you've described yourself as an atheist, and then you've described an atheist, you know.
Yes.
So, would you want to compound, or not compound, would you want to dig a wee bit deeper just for the audience and let them know what an atheist is? Or if that is still your point, sorry, if that is.
Yes, it is. So I do consider myself an atheist, and that basically means that I don't understand spiritual or theological language. It does not, to me, have an inherent meaning. So when someone says God, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that refers to or what that expresses. Gods, angels, spirits, different things like that. It's that I do not believe in these concepts because I do not know what they are and I cannot understand them. And if I cannot understand them, I cannot properly believe in them. So I would consider myself an atheist in that regard. There are different kinds of atheism, like there's different kinds of everything, but that's the kind of atheist that I am.
So just atheist for handiness.
Yeah, just for general, because that can be a bit of a long speech to give every time I say, oh, I don't believe in a God, then have to go through all that.
Yeah. Just double checking with the audio. I have bumped Skeptic 20%. Is it any better on coming through from him? It sounds really loud on my end, but going through OBS, I have given him a wee bump of 20%. So let me know how that goes. Yeah, you don't know. That's another thing as well, man. There's not an awful lot of videos on the channel too, and your last video was the historicity of Jesus. Audio's better, yes. Perfect. We got Josh on, and we had Jefferson on, and myself and you. I thought it was a great restream. I mirrored it here the other day. I've had it saved for a while, and we were talking. You know, I asked you if you didn't mind, and yes, it's better. Perfect. Audio's better, and I released it the other day. It's done really well. Plenty of views, man. I think, like, you know, definitely over 150, nearly 200 views or so. It seems very, very popular. you know. And
Yeah.
from that 6 months ago, and after that discussion, you know, we've talked about it, but have you changed your opinion? Did it enlighten you, or are you still of the same mind where it was and just give you a wee bit more information? You know, the whole idea of mythicism to me, I can't get past the fact. Well, I can understand how. All right, I've seen the mythicism point of view, but I struggle to see now today. The mythicism thing could work with the internet and social media, and you could fake a person, right? But back then, I don't think it was possible unless somebody started it, you know. And I don't think there would be malintent or anything like that. You know, the idea of the hallucinations of someone who's recently passed and shit like that. And we don't know what they were drinking back then. We knew they drink a lot of beer instead of water because beer didn't go out of date. You know, beer, you know, so we're pissed half the time. You know, I'm drinking wine all the time. You know, I'm being facetious, but you get my point. But
yes,
I still feel the need. I still feel that there would have been a need to be a person or somebody at least that was based upon. Even if that guy didn't have the following and they started a different one, you know, they could use the stories of this guy to give it validity. I still feel that it would need to be grounded upon someone, if you understand.
Yeah, I can understand that, and that's why when I describe myself like being a mythicist, I do not have the alternative explanation in the sense of, well, it was a conspiracy and these people made it up and then they did this, that, and the other thing. I don't know. My understanding is just that I have not seen enough compelling evidence to warrant a belief in any description of a historical Jesus, whether it's just as a person or as a spiritual leader. There may have been a Jesus, there may not have been a Jesus. There might have been several people named Jesus. There might have been,
it was again, a popular name.
No, but yeah,
it was a
there
very
might have been. Yeah, there might have been different different ideas that were based on a specific person. My point is just that I don't know, not that I know for a fact.
Yeah.
And I feel that when it comes to God, people can, back then, people can make up concepts of God and that can gain a religion. But I don't understand why people can't do the same thing with a regular person. If God doesn't have to be based on an actual person that was alive, why would Jesus?
Because God's outside of space and time and Jesus is the physical representation. You know, it's physical. You know, not that the fucking, I was going to say the shamrock, the fucking try, you know, God, Jesus and the Holy Spirit was in the Bible or was partial back then. But I don't know, I still feel that there needed to be some sort of physicality to it.
Okay, and I can respect that.
Oh no, yeah, of course. So, yeah. Do you feel that the need that you haven't seen enough compelling evidence is that you're happy being a mythicist, or you're giving it the value that it deserves in your life? It's like, I have a job. I look at it when I feel like it. I'm here at the minute. Do you feel that if you looked into more and found more evidence of it, that you would dismiss mythicism, or do you feel that it's comfortable for you?
I would say I'm definitely open to changing my perspective on it. It's not the hugest thing in my life because most people that I interact with are Christians, so they are arguing from the spiritual point of view anyway. But I've, as much as I can, again, I'm no expert, I'm no scholar on the New Testament, Old Testament, anything like that. But my understanding is that based on the research that I've done, the evidence isn't really compelling.
Yeah.
The Gospels, for example, and anyone please correct me if I'm mistaken, but the Gospels, for example, are not eyewitness accounts. They don't claim to be eyewitness accounts, and we don't even know who wrote them. And as far as extra biblical sources, people love to bring up two in particular, Falathius Josephus and Tacitus, both of whom were not born until after Jesus' alleged death, which begs the question of how did they know what they say they knew? And that's not to say they were wrong, but that's to say if I don't know how they knew what they said they knew, how can I accept what they're saying as true?
Yeah.
So I am speaking from, like I do on my channel, I'm just speaking from a layman's perspective of, I'm not a scholar, I'm not an expert, I'm just making the best judgment with the information that I have. If I had better information, I would make a different judgment. I'm always open to that, but I'm also, you know, very vigilant because I want to keep up the skepticism, because it's very easy to lower your guard on one subject and then you start believing a whole bunch of other things because you lowered your standards on one particular subject. So
no, I appreciate that. It's one thing I get about you is I do think that you're intellectually honest. I would say that you would be open to changing your mind, and you would be very analytical. You know, I would always describe you as an analytical sort of person upon things like that, though, you know, and break them down because of that. Ginger, we'll talk about that later. Superhero, Dragon Ball Z superhero. I got more information. The new series come back 2023. Very excited.
Ooh, Dragon Ball fans.
Right, so the link's in the chat. We've put Ottawa. Ginger Nation, I don't know who are you. You're a troll. You need to turn your camera on and wave at me so I know you're not a troll. Oh god, no, that's a troll. How's your audio tonight?
Probably still shit.
Yeah, pretty shit, but at least you're here. Any theists in the chat as well? We're opening it up. I don't want a fucking floor full of just, you know, I was going to say atheists and fake atheists, because that's what Skeptic being an atheist, but
how do you know that I'm an atheist?
I'm a pseudo-atheist.
Pseudo-atheist, yeah.
Oh, is that a new type of Pokemon? I'd love to catch it.
Gotta catch them all, man. My Pokemon storage is full. I'm at 400. Fuck's sake, need to wipe it out. But anyway, we're diverging again. So, Ginger, challenge. What challenge have you got for Skeptic tonight?
Well, Skeptic, I don't know if I want to repeat the same damn question, because I already asked this on the channel, so.
Then don't.
I'm still a little confused on the whole atheist thing. That's why I actually wanted to ask.
Go.
Yeah, so like, what exactly is an like? I still don't understand like what an atheist is, because like I caught the very end of what you were explaining, because my Wi-Fi went shit.
You're calling
Can you explain that again to me?
Atheist.
Yeah, sure. So an atheist is a type of atheist who does not believe because they don't understand what the labels mean or what the language refers to. Imagine someone who has never heard of the concept of a God, and you start explaining, yeah, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, da 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 da. They're not going to understand what any of that means. They're not going to know what a God is, what an angel is, spirits, any of those things. And it's not that they disbelieve, it's that they do not believe because they don't know what you're talking about. And that's mainly the perspective that I have. And that's not to say I haven't met people who have not tried to explain it to me. It is just that despite their efforts to explain it to me, I still don't understand. So I can't believe in something that I don't understand.
So besides like not being able to verify like the accounts of Jesus, like what else do you not understand necessarily? Like I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just more trying to understand what you don't.
Are we talking about the mythicism? Are we talking about the mythicism, or are we talking about atheism as it pertains to God? Because those are kind of two
like
separate.
You said that you don't understand like some of the terms. I'm not going to claim that I know every single
I don't think
term,
it's not understanding. I think it's that they find it's non-conceptual. You know,
okay.
It's not that they don't understand. Like if I said to you, you know, square circle, you're like, I understand what you're trying to say. I understand exactly what you're trying to say, you know, but it can't make sense. You can't have a square circle. So it's not a lack of understanding. It's just a nonsensical sort of idea.
Square circles, damn it.
Another way to think about it is if someone were to come up to you and were to say it is, that wouldn't mean anything. You would have to ask further questions to gain information. What is it? Is it in fact what it is? There's so many more questions you have to ask that statement by itself to me doesn't mean anything. I don't go as far as to say the words don't mean anything to anybody, but that's to say for me personally, when someone tries to explain the concept of a God, like outside of time and space and eternal and before time, I don't know what it means for something to exist before time or outside of space or whatever. I don't understand the concepts that the person's trying to convey. And so I can't believe in the concept if I don't understand the concept. I can understand sometimes the words, but not the concepts that they're trying to express.
Yeah, some of them are kind of fucking out there. Like, you know, we're just gonna take one of every goddamn animal and put it on a boat for like fucking
Just
damn
one.
near.
I thought it was a pair.
I thought it was 2, and then
It is. I'm sorry,
7,
my
15, and the
my brain
unclean.
was on smart. Yeah. So like, you know, every fucking 2 of every animal, you know, half of them are fucking carnivores, so they're not gonna eat the other ones though. You know, they're just gonna chill on this little fucking boat.
It's a supernatural claim. It breaks down to just a supernatural claim.
It is,
It's
but the weird
supernaturally
thing,
stupid.
but the weird thing is, even with the supernatural thing, that the global flood was genocide. That's what that was. And
Yeah.
I feel like when people make children's books about the flood with cute little animals on a boat, they're ignoring like the reality of how terrible that event was. And I feel like that's the most, again, you'll get different answers if you ask people like different moral objections to the God of the Bible, but that's my biggest one, because there's no two ways about it. There's no matter of interpretation. God said, I will kill everything on this earth, point blank, period.
People may
And-
have their opinions of Ricky Gervais, but Ricky Gervais does a breakdown of a kid's book of the flood. It's like a 20-minute stage show or a half hour, maybe a wee bit longer, whatever. And regardless of what your opinions is of him, it's a fucking, from what exactly you're saying, Skeptic, that's how he looks at it. Got a big pointer and all and has it in the fucking display. It's
Yeah.
Just remember, boys, you know, God loves everybody, but he won't hesitate to fuck around and find out. Nah, I'm
Yeah,
kind of.
I hope I answered your question.
Oh no, you did. I somewhat agree with you. I wouldn't say that I'm atheist because there are certain, like, I'm not a theist either. But I do understand the whole, like, some of this shit just doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. You know, like, you know, Jesus loves, you know, God loves everybody, but like, he's just gonna wipe out, you know, everybody else but these 4 fucking people. That makes a lot of sense. Yay! And then literally wipes out an entire city because they are bad. You did a bad, so I'm gonna kill everyone here.
That was actually the flood was the entire planet. So that was.
Oh yeah,
on a
no, but
planetary
I was referencing Sodom and Gomorrah. Like,
Oh,
you know,
oh.
this city sucks and like everybody in it's a piece of shit, so I'm just gonna wipe them all out instead of being like, hey, you should stop that.
not the nicest thing. But again, it's, I don't know, there's reasons behind why these stories were told. It's whenever people, right now, like using kids smacking as an example, okay?
Mhm.
We all see the studies. We all know that smacking your child is no real benefit. It doesn't help in any way. You know, we can see more beneficial ways of raising kids and disciplining kids and stuff like that. I have never, Elena's 5 now, I've never had to raise my hand, tell her. She always understands, you know. You talk to a child, you know, you say nice things when they do nice things. It's a better system, you know. And but you will still meet people who will say, I got smacked when I grew up, did me no harm.
Can I throw a controversial take on why I think that most of the time these stories are handed down to kids?
If you just let me finish my analogy and finish what I'm saying as you get across
Yeah,
the
go ahead,
subject
my
here,
bad.
you know, it's the justification of it. You know, these people who were smacked by their parents are justifying it. And it's, I don't want to say means to an end because it's very vague and bland, you know, but it ends up good, so it's okay what happened to get there. Like, who is that? It's not Kant, it's who's that fuck? I don't know, I was watching a thing on ethics the other day mentioned. But anyway, it's
the ends justify the means.
yeah. I hate using that phrase. I really do.
See,
I don't like the ends justifies the means. Or the means justifies the ends. Or whatever the fuck it is. I don't like that approach.
I more
agree.
think I think it's more just to like somewhat instill fear into a kid. Like, you know how you tell your kid Santa Claus is real, so that way they think, you know, oh, if I'm on my best behavior, you know, blah blah blah, Santa's gonna bring me a fucking
I hate,
icebox, whatever.
yeah, I hate that shit. It's
I
now jumped.
legitimately think that's 9 times out of 10 the case, because here's like, you know, if you're good, God's gonna do this for you, you know, as long as you believe hard enough, pray hard enough, and read your Bible every day, nothing bad's ever gonna happen to you.
I don't know if you do this over in America, right? But we do that. Well, I fucking don't like doing it. I didn't even want to discuss Santa with the child. You know, just say no. You get your presents. So we got a good balance. That's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
But kids are smart enough now, right? That Santa isn't good enough. They've got this thing called I want to say a troll. What do you call it? An elf. Elf on the
elf
shelf.
on the shelf thing, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Well, you
that thing's creepy as fuck.
actually need something there that they see physically to give them proof. Now it's an extension of that, but they've went to the point, kids are smart enough to the point where like, shit can't see me. You know, so I don't fucking want
dude,
like, you know.
I've always found
Phoebe!
that thing creepy as fuck.
Phoebe, come on
Like-
in. Come on in, Phoebe.
It doesn't blink, like, you know, like it's just staring at you like, I'm watching you.
No, but the point
That's
I'm
all-
making is that kids are now, I wouldn't say intelligent enough, right? Because it's just a different style of awareness. I wouldn't go so far as saying intelligence, but they're aware that they need more. I don't know, it's hard to...
In my
I mean,
opinion,
You need a
I
link.
think that is,
The link is
In my
fucking
opinion-
pinned, Phoebe. The link's pinned. Yeah, I love that. She's like, I need a link, you loon. Oh shit, I looked at the pinned tweet. I'm going to delete this message so nobody sees that I said that.
in my opinion, kids have kind of always been curious, but it also depends on the cultural upbringing. Because if you're taught not to ask questions and not to look, then you're going to accept whatever your parents give you. But if you're taught to ask questions in every other situation, but not this one, you're still gonna, you know, there's a song. What's the song? I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, which is the kind of thing where kids will like, oh, I'm going to sleep. They're not actually going to sleep, and they will stay up all night waiting for Santa to show up. And that's
Right.
one of the ways that I found out Santa wasn't real, because the was jig wasn't putting together. So I had to actually see for myself, and then you see your parents do it. So I think kids have
Yeah.
always done that. It's just not been shown as much as it is now that kids will question things, because they always do. It's just, you know,
Porn!
depending on
Porn!
what you're
I've been
in,
porn
you're not
bombed! I've
supposed
been
to.
porn bombed!
I also think it's a dangerous thing to teach kids not to question things. Like, you know, for example, one of the things that I hate the absolute fucking most that a parent will use is because I said so. I fucking hate when a parent uses that
Okay,
as
right.
any
Now,
justification.
Who are these people?
You hold on a
I
second,
am-
right? Hold on. I'm gonna retort to what you just said, Ginger. Okay.
Okay.
Now, there's people that was
Who are
in
these
I
people?
right.
There's
This
no
is
one else who's gonna say
Skeptic.
hi to you.
This is Skeptic, and this is Q. All right. Q's Ginger Nation. Skeptic. Skeptic Skeleton. There you go. This is Phoebe, but more to the point, this is the ego. All right. You will not meet anyone better or more intelligent or more beautiful than Phoebe. Your life is peaked. You can jump off a cliff now.
Hey,
What I will say is that I have
MathPig, you
so
got a
much
little brown
content
on your
when I'm
nose.
wearing no clothes on a stream.
And
Yo,
you're not in
MathPig,
the
you gotta-
sauna. The fact that you're getting away with this and not in the sauna. Yeah, Phoebe usually streams from the sauna. Phoebe does trans discussions on her channel and transition stories. It's really good. Jump over. All that.
MathPig, you got a little brown right here, man. You know.
Your ass. No, it's the ego. You're not getting it.
Because he's, you know.
So anyway, you said you wanted to retort to what I
Yes,
said.
the
It was
reason- right. I do not use that phrase because I said so. Okay? But a phrase that I have used. The topic is anything, Greyheart. The phrase that I do use with Elena is I do not negotiate with toddlers. Now, I will have a middle ground. And Elena has already figured this out. So I'll say 1 and she'll deliberately say 3 because she knows that when I say no, she'll come back with 2, and she goes, but daddy, that's a compromise. And I taught her that, so I can't say no. So she started to preempt more than what she asks, right?
The question that I have to ask you is, how much reasoning do you place on Elena?
Right, people are saying that Phoebe is too quiet, and I have bumped the volume for all the people up, so I'm going to bump Phoebe up individually now.
She's fine on my end.
Well, it's because, the ego is, warming up.
Okay, Phoebe just got a boost to 20% now individually. Special 20% boost.
The ego likes that. The ego getting polished by 20%.
Yeah, and all I basically said was her system is fucking shit, so I had to add specialness to it, but she felt good about it, so that's all that matters.
See, the reason why I don't like the whole... The reason
I thought
why
our
I
life
don't...
would teach, but apparently it just got 20% better.
The reason I don't like the whole because I said so thing is because sometimes parents use that for the dumbest fucking things. Like, oh, so why can't I ask a question because I said so? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
No.
So you're basically telling me that I need to just blindly go with this and not ask any questions because 1, you probably don't know the answer to it, and 2, because you just don't want to tell me.
I had Elena on stream, in a hangout. Oh, it's Listerine Day. You must have had a few drinks last night. I had Elena in a hangout earlier, private one, not on stream, private one, with Wildheart, Jody, and Silver, and Elena come in because she was playing in the room I was talking, and she come in and said hello, and she was doing the whole Pikachu thing. I got the Snapcap camera up for her. She was using the mouse, all by herself, clicking whatever one she wanted, and she put on Pikachu, told her no, and she was like, Pikachu. I was like, stop saying Pikachu, and I was like, I'm telling you. I was like, now switch that off, go back into your room so I can have a smoke, and then we have to go do a message. And she went, no bother. And she clicked it on just before she left, and she went, Pikachu. And then walked out of the room, and I was like, give me a kiss. And she was like, no, I don't like you. You won't let me go. Pikachu. And walked out again. I was like, you just sneaky wee fucking...
See, that's the benefit of having kids with red hair is we are stubborn as fuck. Like, I have been called hard-headed my entire life, and I'm starting to believe it's true.
I'll buy you a helmet.
How have you been, Phoebe? And out of everybody in the community as well, Phoebe is also... The reason that Phoebe is the most special person in the whole world is because out of the community, she's the only person that's actually got to meet me. In person.
And you've met my fiance, and I've met Elena, and I've taken honey from you.
And you met my mother.
Yes. And your mother met my fiance. And we've had dinner together.
Yeah, we did. I treated you to dinner, yes.
Vegas,
you owe me a slap up meal.
You got to come to England for that.
Ah, yes.
MathPig, you need to come to Vegas.
No, you're literally like the second furthest away. The only other person further away is Sammy.
No, yes, there is one person further away. There is one person further away, and that's the 604 atheist.
I don't hang about or talk to him though. Out of the people that I would talk to.
Yeah, but the 604 atheist is in British Columbia, which is like a time zone over from. But yeah.
See, you have to be an ass, don't you?
See, if I did want to jump in real quick.
Sorry, were you talking?
I did want to jump in real quick just before we switch lanes.
Please do. Please do. Save me.
I think a lot of people can't distinguish negotiating from reasoning. And I think that reasoning with children is good and giving them good reasoning skills is good. But that's really difficult and takes a lot of time, especially with children. So a lot of people opt to just not. And they'll just say, well, this is my house and you do what I say because this is my house.
And
because
it's
they don't
easier.
feel like having to do the work in that case. And that's not a good thing because children learn those habits in life. And it's a hard transition to make, going from living in someone else's house, whatever they say is what you do, you follow the rules because they say so, and then you're out into the world and that's not the case. And that's not something you should do. And it can be very jarring and shocking. So I think that's another big reason is a lot of people don't know the difference. They're like, well, if I'm reasoning with them, then I'm negotiating, I'm arguing with them. But you can explain to them why something is happening the way that it is. My doctor, when I was a kid, my doctor would always do that. And so I would be like, why do I have to get a vaccine? Because this, that, and the other thing. And they would give me a book, and then I could read the book. And it wasn't like, because I said so, there was a laid out reasoning. Regardless of whether I liked it or not, I had to admit there was a reason. And I say that to say, I think that's much more beneficial.
I've got a question here for the dad in the room. When do you plan on teaching your daughter basic independent living life skills?
Like what? Using a hammer and nails, sawing, being able to cook. She already gets up every morning and makes her own breakfast. What are you talking about? She knows how to use the washing machine. She taught her auntie when we were on holiday, because she cut her finger and there was no plasters. And she was like, well, make a plaster. And my sister-in-law, her auntie, was like, how do you make a plaster? And she's like, well, there's sellotape and there's kitchen roll. And we just put the kitchen roll on the sellotape and wrap it up. We got a plaster.
That's not what I'm on about. I'm on about, you know, the things that most people... Well, you can swear at me all you want, but that was going to be a given on this stream. You were going to swear at me. Anyway, you think I lose my train of thought? I don't. You see, that's the thing with me. So what I was getting at was things like bank accounts, utility bills, things like that. Those kinds of things that people don't generally teach people. Do you plan on teaching your daughter how those things work and how they operate at some point?
Already have started. She knows how to use my hole in the wall to take money out. And whenever she comes down here, and if it's raining and we can't go for a walk or something, I'll take a £20 note out and I'll be like, right, this is what we have for today. Daddy doesn't have an awful lot of money. She knows that I work because I don't ring her some days because daddy has to work to get money. And I was like, this is what you have. Now, do you want to go to somewhere to get something nice to eat? Do you want to go to this or whatever? And she has to think about what that £20 is, and that's her limit. And that's where I'm at now with her at 5.
Because I think that one of the biggest things that I do in my job, because I work in social care, shall we say, where I deal with a range of individuals with a range of life skills. Number one thing is, how many people don't understand how essential things like bank accounts are? How essential and how necessary it is to pay your bills and set up regularly paying your bills.
Or credit score, or fucking investing, or anything like that.
My credit score. Hold on, Ginger.
We don't bother with credit scores in the UK.
Right, credit scores. I went to get a mortgage and I was told to go get at least a credit card or a mobile phone bill because I always paid my money. I always did this. I'm sure you haven't heard that. I don't know how you haven't heard this story, Phoebe, but when I started working at 14, my ma was like, right, 25% of your wages, that's now your rent. And as my wages went up, she would take 25% of my money. That was paying my bills in the house while I lived there. And when I moved out, she had a chunk of money for me that she had saved, as well as paying the bills, to help me with the down payment of when I went in. And then I'm now in a house by myself paying rent, and I'm already in the mindset of paying bills, have to do this, have to do that. I discussed last week about building a house on stream and having what we would refer to over here as a granny flat, because I'm hoping granny flat, right? Hoping to be closer to the daughter, but 2 hours away from my mum. So if mum drives up, she'll have her own place to stay. 1 bed, kitchen, whatever. While it's not being used, when it's not being used for that reason, and I have a kid at say 18 who wants independence, they now have a 1 bed, 1 room, 1 living room, 1 kitchen place that they have their own independence and come and go as. But when they move in there, they need to pay rent. So they get into the habit of paying bills that they can miss if shit happens. And if they don't have food, they can come to the house. It's like a safety net. This is a skill. You're just trying to flash. Stop pushing the limits of YouTube. You're going to get the stream cut down.
I am not trying to flash. I did that intentionally so that I wouldn't flash.
Right. Anyway, what I'm saying is these life skills are very important. My wee girl already knows how to cook. She already knows how to fucking make her own breakfast. Yes, these things are important. Money skills, learning to pay bills, very important.
you can also make these things fun. Like for instance, bro, I love cooking, and one of my
Did you
friends,
love paying
you
your
know,
electric bill?
oh yeah, no, that's the best
Elena
part.
insists upon doing everything herself. She's like, no, no, no. I've watched you now. Get out of the way. I'm gonna do it. She's worse than Phoebe's ego.
See, but that, like that
Is that even
that-
possible?
In person.
Phoebe,
like one.
Sorry, go on. Someone finish their story and I'll tell my story now.
Go ahead, Ginger.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I think that the best thing for that is just like, you know, when teaching somebody something, I've always learned hands on. So you know, like I can't just sit back and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. For me, it was always like, oh, how do I do this? Let me do it, but tell me on the sidelines. And when my friend's kid wanted to learn how to cook, the first thing that I taught them was an omelet, right?
Scrambled
And
eggs or
I'm
an
like,
omelet.
all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, like that was the first thing I taught them, and you know, I didn't like have everything in my hand. I'm like, all right, look, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and you're gonna take over. And they're like, bet. So you know, they learned how to make an omelet, and then about a week later, they called me up to like, Uncle Q, guess what I learned how to make? And I'm like, what'd you learn how to make? And they're like, meatloaf, and I'm like, oh, you know, and the kid's 10 now. So they're already making all kinds of different shit, and I think that's what, in my opinion, I know I'm not a parent, so I guess my opinion may be less valid than anyone else here, but, you know, teaching your kid things like cooking and, you know, especially like bank accounts and shit like that, that's really important, because especially here in America, they don't teach you fucking financial shit in school. They teach you how to find the square root of a fucking rhombus before they'll teach you what a credit score is.
That's the education system over here still like that, but you know, and people can judge. I've got videos of Elena at 2 using power tools and give fuck under supervision safely, knowing what she's doing. Brilliant, great fucking fun. Made a wonderful video. Thank you for joining Let's Farm. I wasn't sure, like
How's
you
it
know,
going,
are
Robbie?
you all right, man?
Oh, I'm gonna have to have a
Clearly answer his
gallbladder
notes.
out.
That's a hospital.
Yeah, this is This is a friggin' hospital.
My man's a super Chad right now. He's streaming in the hospital, not giving no fucks.
Hardcore.
Sitting here
Antangelo
vaping
wants
in
to
the
know.
hospital, too.
Right, there you go, Let's Farm. I'm going to give you the one question from the chat that I've been avoiding because you're in a hospital, and if anything bad happens, you're in the best place, right? Antangelo wants to know, what would you like to be challenged about? Well, not you, but the panel. What's the biggest, apart from getting your gallbladder out right now, what's the biggest challenge mentally, philosophically, existentially where you are right now, you know?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Boy, why does getting old suck?
Oh, I'll send you a Royal Institution, Royal Institute of, what is it, the fucking, you know the one, Phoebe? Lecture hall. Been going since Newton's time. At the Royal something, I can't remember. It is the Royal Institution. Somebody in the fucking chat help me. They did a talk. No, I haven't watched it. I've clicked it. I even went so far as taking a screenshot of it, because I take a lot of pictures, so it'll be in my pictures, to remind me to watch it. And it's called Aging Isn't Inevitable. He's a biologist, so that's on my list of things to watch. I'll send you that. But maybe it's not inevitable.
I would love to challenge Antangelo on a few things, but I mean that's ultimately here or there. But like, I guess my question is like, why is it that if you have to pray hard enough to make something go away? Like that, I've always had that question.
Okay, I'll give you a really easy answer. Why do you have to pray so hard to make things go away? Was the wording you use? And if I reword it ever so slightly and say, why do you have to pray so hard to change the mind of an omniscient God that's everything all planned out and you're just a little ant? So the reason you have to pray so hard is because he considers you, if he, she, they exist, consider you an ant. So you have to scream and shout and pray very hard. Hello, Greyheart.
So basically, like my whole idea is that if God exists, then we're just one giant sandbox for him.
Alien Ant Farm.
That'd make a good band name. That would make a good band name.
We're just basically God's Sims, you know, we're all a bunch of sim characters.
Where's all
To
the
that
Christians tonight? Where's all the people that's, you know, did they not do enough shilling? Come on, Phoebe. Do you know some Christians that are angry? Go on.
I actually
There are
this
plenty of
could be
angry
a
Christians. They're called Americans.
Well, we've got a couple of them, but they're not the.
Hey man,
What I will say is, did anybody see the Georgia Guidestones get blown up?
Yeah, they did.
yes.
Did
I
that
didn't
actually
live too
happen?
Far away from that.
Yep,
Yeah,
it
that
did.
did.
Friend of mine lives right by them. He said they're gone. They're
I
gone.
recently, like in this last maybe 4 months, 5 months, whatever it was, only found out about these things, right? And how much of a fuck. I think they were built by a white. It was like a wee history document. Something.
No, they were built by lovey-dovey people that wanted everyone to have free love and all this stuff.
No. I think it
Yeah.
was. I think it was.
I think it was the Rosicrucians.
No, I think it was some more news. No, Greyheart, we can't hear you. I think it was some more news did a breakdown of where it came from. Because the actual funding that they had, they didn't know it was anonymous and stuff like that. And some person did a check and they checked their check. And it may have been done by a guy who was known for being a white supremacist, right? And it's taken... But anyway, that's... Bleh. I only recently heard out about it and now it's blown up. That's funny. I'm killing all the views. Nobody's here. Where's all the crazy people?
Seriously, what the fuck, man? We don't got no crazy people.
No crazy people.
You
I
just
mean,
got
I can always dial up the
bonkers.
ginger a little bit. I can always dial up the ginger a little bit if you need me to, MathPig.
All I will say is America is bonkers enough to have 5 lunatics on the Supreme Court running your country.
Right, we're not
Man,
good. Right, and that's one thing. Right,
Wait.
one thing
We
I'm gonna
didn't-
put the slam down on. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna slam this down. You're gonna get to finish your point, finish your sentence. I ain't going into American politics at the minute. All right, I will happily debate
I've
if
finished
Jaffa
this point
cakes.
there.
I will debate are Jaffa cakes a cake quicker than I'm gonna go into fucking American politics now because we all agree on the same points, and all it's gonna be is a rant, and I'm not having a rant.
Yeah.
For
I agree on
VAT
that.
purposes, Jaffa cakes are cakes.
Yes, I know. That's so I made that joke the other day, right? People were asking for debate topics and I was like, are Jaffa cakes cakes or are they biscuits or not, not cakes? And they were like, we didn't do the debate, but they're like,
Pizza.
we didn't do it, but I totally agree with you. And I was like, agree with me in what? That Jaffa cakes aren't cakes. And I was like, no, they totally are. And she was like, well, why did you say that as a debate? And I was like, because I disagreed with it and wanted to argue. Clearly, Jaffa cakes are cakes. It's like,
I mean, it's in
And
the
I'll tell
fucking
you, I'm
name.
going to tell you the scientific reason as to why a Jaffa cake is a cake and not a biscuit.
it's because it's
Because
baked
if you
and it's
leave-
in court. It was through court, so there's
Nope,
precedent.
nope,
Oh,
nope. Jaffa cakes, when they go stale, go hard. Biscuits, when they go stale, go soft.
And is the reason behind that because they are baked?
No,
Right.
the yeast content.
Oh, high yeast content.
Yes.
Says the naked lady.
Now, Robbie,
No, I do not have thrush.
Robbie, you make me all jealous in the stream, man. I gotta go 3 days at least without that.
Yeah, right,
Oh,
this
you
is-
have to go.
I was
Damn,
on. I
bro.
was in that hangout earlier that I talked about, and I coughed. Right, sometimes it goes down. And like I'm a smoker, but I still coughed because it's quite nice. It's really sticky, right? And I say it
Yeah,
like
but
that
you
because
get-
even the T in the word is sticky, right? But they were like, "Oh, what are you smoking today?" And I was like, "Big Daddy." It's really got stuck in my throat, and it was like just sat back and waited to see who would make it. Wild Heart was like split second, straight in.
Hey, let's farm. I'm gonna smoke a big ass bong hit. just
Yes,
for
I
you,
know,
man.
Dargendorp. I know.
Thanks, man.
Cerberus.
Appreciate it.
Cerberus, come on in, Cerberus. I've got some questions. I've questions, Cerberus. Come on in for the arguments.
So,
Pinned tweet.
Yeah, no.
Pinned fucking. Sorry, go ahead, Ginger.
But I make
And I'm currently in the most legal recreational state in the United States right now. I'm in a
Which state?
hospital in New York.
Right,
oh shit, bro. I'll make a trip to New York real quick and sneak you in some. How about that?
right, we're not talking about weed legality either because we all agree on that. What we are going to talk about is how quiet Skeptic is. Right, we've been talking.
I've been
much.
trying to jump in, but I don't want to interrupt anybody.
Well,
so
you're
like,
in the
for
wrong
past
fucking.
few
You're in the
minutes-
wrong fucking stream if you don't want to interrupt people. Right, interrupt away.
Yeah, I know. But that's not that's a habit I have to work on. What I wanted to talk about was the prayer thing and how that's kind of an example of the atheism that I was talking about before. I don't know what prayer is, so I don't understand what effect it's supposed to have on reality. So when someone prays, what are they doing? Are they like trying to telepathically communicate with God? Are they telling God something God already knows? What's the point in that? Are they telling God something he doesn't know?
Well, that's what I was
I
saying.
don't
Yeah, I was
understand
being
the
facetious and making the
functionality.
joke of that. Yeah, because it's like you have to pray so
But basi-
hard because he's a fucking omniscient being. What are you actually trying to do?
Well, no, you gotta
I have
beg
the
your
same-
sky daddy to
That
do
was
what
direct.
you
No,
want.
that was directed directly at Skeptic because he just got a chance and I interrupted him. So I was asking him a question. So, well, retorting and agreeing with him.
You gotta beg
Yeah,
sky
so
daddy to
that's
do what you want.
So yeah, that's just
I
my
think-
perspective. Is that is an example of what I mean when I say I'm an atheist? Is what is prayer and how does it work? Because I cannot count the number of times I have been told to pray and been told to pray to God to reveal the truth. Now I don't know how that works if I don't believe in God, but I don't even know how that works if I do believe in God. I just don't understand the mechanism of what prayer is. And then, like, how does it interact with reality to produce any sort of effect, let alone praying hard? Because then you have to get into a question of how do you pray harder or not as hard?
Well, I'll throw you one. I'll throw
What?
you one better, Skeptic, right? So, as I was growing up dealing with depression and other shit, when I would try to vocalize, like, hey, I need some actual fucking help, my depression's getting to a point I can't handle it anymore, I was told, hey, well, if you pray hard enough and you believe hard enough, Jesus will make your depression go away, because ultimately depression is just sadness.
Are you trying to do a water boy impression?
No, I'm just impersonating most of the people that I grew up around.
It sounded like water boy.
No, but for real, like that was the biggest thing was like I'm trying to seek help over here, like I am fucking struggling, and they're like, well, you're supposed
Okay, we
to
get
be
it,
a
we get it,
Christian,
we
so-
get it. Right, I want to keep on topic and rather doing rambling and shit. Like, great Skeptic had a point.
Well,
he was making.
Well, yeah, I was
I
gonna
have the
go
same
with
opinion on praying hard as I do with the psychic hotlines. If they were really psychic, they'd call me.
but that really does that sort of the implication that has when people say things like if you pray this thing will happen, it implies that presumably if God exists, God is just not gonna do it if you don't pray. So God is like, personally, if I was in like a situation
No,
and I
not yet,
needed help,
Greyheart.
if I was in a situation and I needed help, it wouldn't be a situation where someone is going to watch me and they're only going to help if I pray to them. I wouldn't have to, if I needed help with something, I wouldn't have to pray to MathPig to get him to help. If he knew I was in a situation where I needed help, I wouldn't have to pray and then pray a certain level of hardness to get help. He would just help. So why is it that God is less empathetic or less kind than MathPig? And granted, that's a high bar, but still.
Yeah, I would love to get like a Christian in here to fucking answer that question. 'Cause low-key.
Spartan did say at the start he's sorting out the kids, and if it were still going in an hour and a half, he'll jump in. So that was, I don't know if it was an hour and a half ago. But started at 11 clock right now. Let me see.
It's 3:51, so it's 11:51 your time.
Yes. So another maybe half hour. Spartan will definitely be, well, not definitely be here. Anyone who's kids.
So, but like the other problem that I had with it, right, was basically when you're saying, like, for example, like with depression, like if you pray hard, you're basically invalidating the person saying, hey, I need fucking help. You go, like, you know what I mean? Like that's the biggest issue I had with it, which is like, so you tell me to come to you when I need help, but basically now I have to go to this God that should have already been helping me because of said reasons. But if I don't ask hard enough, he's still not going to help me, and that never made any sense to me either. So, I mean, I'm kind of right there with you, Skeptic.
Yeah, I had an idea because I was raised religious, so I could play devil's advocate until we get an actual Christian in here, because I'm very familiar with the argumentation.
Right.
I mean,
and
same.
the
Okay.
argumentation.
Which
Greyheart. We got nose noise. We got breathing. We got some noise. They've been trying to get their audio
Thank
sorted.
you guys can actually hear me.
Yes, now we can.
Hey, welcome.
Right.
Hello.
That's a great.
Thank you.
Wildheart's brilliant. Wildheart is just Wildheart. I was just about to replace you just as you arrived. I'm only joking. Don't leave.
That
Wildheart.
would be brilliant to replace me before I get to you. That would be amazing.
Wildheart is usually who I would jump on at the start of these conversations, right? And I'd be like, Wildheart, you have to come in, and you are our general Christian. Ask me questions. Because Wildheart's working on his philosophy at the minute, so it's always good to be able to steelman a certain person's point of view. So being able to play that person, so Wildheart would have always come in. But Skeptic just put his self forward. So Wildheart, is great that you're here as well. Now, thank you. Skeptic's going to pretend to be the Christian. So Skeptic, being the atheist and knowing that with your background, but it's not biased, but it's there. We know you're analytical. We know what you're like.
Yeah.
Give me and Wildheart, you can answer after me, but give me a question. I don't want you to be a troll. I want you to be a genuine interlocutor, but I want you to ask me and go challenge me, right?
So, how is it that you think reality can function autonomously without any kind of active or deliberate intervention? The way things in reality seem to function, they all seem to have something that needs to make them happen. But it would seem that the atheist perspective does not depend on any sort of deity to make things happen before or within reality. So how can everything just be in an autonomous process without someone to start the autonomous process?
I would be under the belief that going from what you're saying and taking, you would be under the understanding that there needs to be something to poke that thing that way or push that thing that way, or actually interact with individual people without breaking their free will to move them and generally push them in certain directions to make things better. Along with the physicality, you're talking about where we are now. So we have the awareness now to look back at where we are and who we are and what we're capable of, and thinking about life and the future and the past and all of that, in my opinion, due to evolution. Okay, that we get better over times with things. As an analogy, you could look at machine learning. You show them 1 million pictures of fucking cancer. By the end of it, they're better at picking cancer from a picture than a doctor. And that's a machine doing that. So evolution takes time. So I would believe, being a social creature and things like that, that's why we look after each other. That's why we lean towards certain objective morality sort of points, where it's like, it's not bad to murder someone. It is bad. Sorry, Wildheart. I was looking at you when I said that. I don't know why you influenced me, right? But it's a bad thing to kill people. It's bad for the general group. It's bad to steal. These sort of things that fall into that, they are a social creation. It's better for the group to be that way, So I would fall upon the fact that the way our biology is and the way that we have these reasons is because of evolution. And because given enough time, everything will make itself a wee bit more efficient, And there's no goal. It's just you end down, wee rabbit holes. We've all done it on YouTube. You don't know where you're going to end up, but you get better at doing and going down that rabbit hole that you've went down because of the experience. Here you go. So in a roundabout half stoned off my big daddy, that's I hope that answers your question.
So it kind of doesn't, in the sense of what I'm asking is, what is the starting process for things? If evolution is a process that happens, what starts the process?
Right, well, that's a different topic altogether. Now, that's a different topic. That's what we would refer to.
That was the original topic that I was trying to ask.
Okay, well, that's abiogenesis. Sorry, I'm just used to so many of you Christians conflating abiogenesis with evolution that I got mistaken on something. Wildheart, would you like to put a point in? Also, Jamie, jump in, pin tweet.
You are kind of right. I kind of agree with everything you said, but he's more asking, like, at the start of the not about life, just what gets the whole process of the universe existing. I think that's what he was asking. You were right about everything you said. It's just he's asking about the start of the universe rather than the start of life, I think.
Right, so are you talking about big... Right, just to clarify then, Skeptic, thank you, Steelman and me, or Steelman and him, Wildheart. Just to clarify, from my point of view, are you asking about what we refer to as abiogenesis, which would be the kick-starting section part that became evolution? Or are you talking about Big Bang?
I'm talking about contingency in reality. That regardless of whether or not it's
Mute, let's form.
regardless of whether it's the beginning of the universe or it's the beginning of a rainstorm, it seems that things do not just happen, that there is a conscious will that moves things forward. And whether that conscious will is animals doing things or humans doing things, these conscious entities get processes started. So if you don't believe there is a person that started these processes, what do you believe? How do you believe these processes could be started without a person starting them?
Okay, right. Now, I hate to be this asshole that answers a question with a question, but I'm going to be that asshole, right? So, you're asking me then basically what starts, the start of the universe, the prime mover that gave everything a wee kick up the arse, yeah? That got the whole thing going, to paraphrase it. Is that what you were referring to, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so in certain, now again, I premise this with, this is not my field of expertise. My field of expertise is tars, but this is not my field of expertise, okay? So I'm going to quote what I may understand. At least I have a field, yeah. Out the back, you should see it, it's overgrown. I'm going from my understanding and from what I've watched, read, and etc., etc., etc. So, from my point of view and my understanding, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe that outside of this universe, another layer, another echelon, another whatever phrase you want to use it, something exists outside of our universe? Would you answer yes or no to that?
Yes.
Okay, so would it be a problem for you, for me to say that I am under the inference, belief, research, whatever I've come to, on the opinion from other experts, that we refer to as the cosmos is a physical thing that exists outside of our universe? So in that aspect, I would believe that the cosmos, which includes everything and our universe, that there may have been a physical cause under the laws of physicality in that universe or that membrane, if you're talking about four-dimensional shit, or whatever you want to talk it, as I say, not an expert. But if you're open to the idea of God existing in another echelon or another universe, I'm also under the belief, but I think it has a physicality. There's something that maybe possibly have started it from there.
I'm not sure I understand that, because that would be physicality outside of space, and I wouldn't know what that would mean. I could understand an entity existing outside of space without physicality because it's outside of space. But for it to be outside of space and have some physicality is what I wouldn't understand. What I could understand is a mind of some sort, a mind that has power enough that it can affect the physical, that it can create the physical, that it can move the physical. And the mind, not being a physical thing, wouldn't need anything to move it, since it's not a physical thing. So that would be my perspective, is you have this mind that is outside of time and space, and that mind has the power and the will to affect the physical and create the physical and things like that. And it itself does not need to be created or moved or affected, because it is not physical, it is just a mind.
Right. Well, your understanding of a being outside of time and space, right? Can affect time and space. Okay? So your understanding of a being still can be in a different echelon, different universe, that thing, and affect this universe. So I'm under the same understanding, just I would call it, it's known as doing a quick Google search, membrane universe theory. Very basically, it is related to string theory. The idea of a possible way of explaining the 4 extra forces, strong, weak, this, that, and the other, may be modified. There are different membranes that can collide. They have, I was going to say frequency, but I'm not going to go down that route. They have movement, and sometimes they come close in that. Now, when you say non-physical, you don't understand the idea of non-physical. It must be a non-physical being. It must be God. It must have a consciousness. The reason you say it has a consciousness is because you see a goal. You see an end result, which is us. So because we are, under the Christian belief, amazing, the peak, literally the copy of fucking God, you're under the belief that we were aimed for. Okay, this is brilliant what we are, but I don't say that this was the goal. Okay, we could have easily ended up like fucking Star Trek Voyager, 4-armed amphibians, Janeway and fucking Tom Paris when they hit warp 10. You know, we could have ended up in that version. We just ended up where we are now. So I don't see the issue where you have a God that can affect this universe, where I can say there's a universe that can affect this one. And your reasoning is you don't understand the physicality of it. And I'm saying to you, your justification for your physicality is a fucking book and some personal testimony. So these people attribute to God what has happened, but you've still no proof of it. And we don't know either, but, you know, Wildheart wants to add, and then Skeptic, if that's okay, or would you prefer to go first, Skeptic?
Yep, that's okay.
Yeah, I think he's going further than that. I think he's saying that God is a mind that exists outside. He's not in a different universe. He's outside of any time and space.
Yes, but he still has to be able to affect this time and space.
Yeah, but he's not in a different universe. He's non-physical. To me, the question was...
He agreed. No, he did agree that he was in a different echelon. He did agree that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well... Oh, okay. Well, I guess I don't see... I think if something has the will and it has the power, then it should be able to affect the physical without necessarily being physical.
Right, show me a logical syllogism for that, because that's just an assumption.
That's a non-physical. It's non-physical. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's an inference. The fact that you think that somebody who has the ability to do this must be non-physical. That's like me saying the person who must work in my car, I would assume, has the ability to be a mechanic and magic. I just, you know, I can stick in whatever I want as an assumption to do that. They just need that one skill, and I can add the rest of it. You know, they don't... The creation of a universe does not necessarily mean a non-physical conscious mind. It just means the universe began.
Okay, but that is the root of the question that I am asking as a Christian. Is my understanding is our wills, the choices and decisions we make, are controlled by our minds. So why would that not be the same with the universe needing to be controlled by a separate mind, which would be God? And as long as that God has the power to interact or create the physical, I don't see why it would need to be physical itself. And even if there are like different layers, like 50 different layers, 50 different universes, God would be the mind outside of all of them that starts all of them, that starts all of those layers.
I'm going to ask what I would refer to when someone from a different perspective question. This is my answer, so feel free to be an asshole back to me. This is a meme question. M-E-M-E, a meme question. But what started God?
And that is the thing. God does not need a start because God is not physical. God is a mind in and of itself. Anything that is physical needs a start, needs a cause to produce the physical effect. The mental does not.
I just want to say, I think Let's Firm wants to speak. I might be wrong.
No, thank you.
I was just gonna say when Robbie was referring to the gap or to the membranes, that Greyheart or whoever was just speaking. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing my screen because it got me on a lot of delay.
It's really funny when you go close to it. It's just a close-up shot of your nose, but go on ahead.
I know. Well, I'm having, they got me on a lot of opiates, and it's hard to read right now.
You're man,
But-
Jesus, I'm glad you thank you, but don't push yourself.
No, but God existing outside of all of those various universes, and if you put that in with your membrane theory there, that is literally God of the gaps between the membranes. Literally.
Right, Skeptic, would you agree with me? I'm going to ask you a few questions now, okay?
Okay.
Would you agree with me that your version of God, as you have described it, is a non-physical mind that has the ability to affect the physical, also does exist in a different sort of echelon, in a universe or an echelon or a layer of universe or whatever the fuck it is that allows the spiritual, allows the non-physical, non-corporeal, that's the word I'm looking for, right? So in this universe, a non-corporeal consciousness can survive. So would you agree that he is in this echelon, he is a non-corporeal consciousness, and you would agree that he can affect in this universe things that happen and move it around?
Yes, I would say they can affect things that happen in every universe.
Okay, and you are going off this assumption because to create something physical, you must have a conscious mind behind it, i.e. the watchmaker and all that shit, right? But you are making this statement that you are inferring from your point of view that God, I'll get to you in a minute, I was only thanking you away 420, your version of God and the fact that it has to be a conscious mind is because you have only seen conscious minds create things. Would that be correct?
Yes, whether it's create things or start things, same difference. The beginning always seems to be a conscious mind.
Can you now, from that assumption, okay, and where you're getting, and your description that I've just said back to you that you've agreed upon, could you now show me an example of a conscious mind being able to transcend different dimensions and different universes? Because that is also a requirement of this, you know, non-corporeal conscious mind, because we're landing it in conscious, right? So can you show me an example of this conscious mind being able to transcend universes?
Well, I would say that all of our minds technically fit into that category, in the sense of if someone tries to crack open your brain, they're not going to find your mind in any physical location, but you would still say that the mind exists. You wouldn't say you don't have a mind because it doesn't have a physical space. You would still suggest that the mind exists. And that is the location or the way in which I would say minds, spirits, souls exist in that manner.
That's the phrase I'm going for, right? You're talking about souls, okay? So you're talking about a consciousness that's existing in this thing that then comes into our body and creates us in this body. Jamie, yes? I can't see your name, Jamie, because you're in a bad spot. If I move you, is it Jamie? Back me up in this.
I can see Jamie.
The name is Jamie Russell.
Yeah, I can see Jamie Russell.
Yeah, I see him too. I see him.
There we go. Now I can see your name. Sorry, moved you around. Yeah, so example of a non-corporeal mind. No, not an example of a non-corporeal mind. Example of a consciousness being able to affect something in a different universe. You're a proponent of a soul, okay? Right now I've got my train of thought back. Jimmy nearly ruined it, but I got it back, right? You are a proponent then of a soul, okay? So consciousness comes from the soul, consciousness comes from this thing, from blah, 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 blah. If I put the idea, the proponent forth, and I think this is why Wildheart raised his hand as well, because we're going to both say this together, emergent property, okay? I think...
Yes, but I think I can really simplify it.
Go.
Do we have any evidence of a mind existing absent a physical brain? Do we have any evidence that that's even possible?
I would say that's not something we could know from our perspective. It's only something you could know from the perspective of the mind. The physical cannot see or perceive the non-physical, but the non-physical can see and perceive the physical. It's like a one-way door.
So the answer to that is no, we have no evidence of a mind existing absent a physical brain. The answer to that is basically no.
I would say I do, but I wouldn't say everyone
Okay,
does.
I'm gonna bump in and really, yeah, 520 did spend a fiver. Okay, super chat from 420. Thank you very much. And I made fun of him and all. I was like, I missed your comment because it wasn't a super chat, so I'm a bit of a cunt. Right? I'm reading it now. No one has pointed out his first step was to make the God of the Gaps fallacy, where he puts God. We are honest enough to say we don't know. Hail Satan. I think Let's Farm did that, but that was probably after your comment. I'm sorry for taking so long. Spartan, I wasn't only... Did you sort the kids, Spartan? Come on in and, bounce it out. So, Jamie, you've been here for at least, half an hour, maybe 40 minutes listening to me and Skeptic bounce back and forth. I know you're a heretic, but would you like to join the Christian side against me and Wildheart?
Yes, I would.
Oh, good.
We'd love to have you on the Christian side.
Oh, praise Jesus. So, Jamie, as you just entered and I've ruined all the rest of the conversation we were having, have you a question for either myself or Wildheart as a backup?
Well, I don't know. I was going to say about the evolutionary thing, but that was kind of a while ago. But go ahead. I'll just, I didn't have anything in mind yet, but I'll think of something. Sorry about that. Give me a minute.
On the technical issue, MathPig, as always, if you need room, you need to make me possible.
Oh, is this your limit?
I have 10 available people. I'm raping 420 StreamYards at the minute. It's fine. And I nearly didn't read his super chat. So thanks 420 and more wisdom. But Team Christian, Skeptic, you have been here. So how would you like to follow up my statement of consciousness I consider to be an emergent property?
What do you mean by emergent property?
I don't know, it's a buzzword. What I mean is, through evolution... I was making a joke, but if Wildheart has an actual definition, I'll bunch.
I think so. It could be wrong. An emergent property is something that you need many pieces of something, and what emerges from that thing that has many pieces is an emergent property. It's not one. It's not the thing on its own. Like the mind is not the brain, but if you put all the neurons and all the parts of the brain together, you get the mind, and the mind is an emergent. It's what emerges from the brain.
Yeah, it's like not identical with the. Well, it's not identical with the parts. It's like
not identifiable by the parts.
I believe in non-physical entities or whatever, like angels and God or whatever, being non-physical. I believe in that. But regarding human beings and the physical world, I'm basically a non-reductive physicalist Christian.
Yeah, well, I actually thought your point, I think the last time we were on, 2 times ago.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bring that up. I just letting my partner know here.
Oh, yeah. No, but the point is I brought that up and I actually fought your point. We were doing a flip around. I was doing what Skeptic was doing. Remember, it was if a heart has been objectified, or not objectified, if a heart has been given access to the soul for long enough, when you were talking about transplants, then not necessarily the soul that's in the heart. It's just been seeped in that dirtiness for a while that it's got a feelingness from it,
Yeah, I think.
See you later, Rox. Thanks for coming by.
JG was thinking things I wasn't thinking were possible. I was just saying maybe some attribute of a person would come along with a major organ transplant, and I've heard of that, but I've never heard of anything major going from one body to another, other than some minor change that maybe the person who is the donor, some aspect of their mannerisms or personality in some slight way got transferred to the person in some way, but not anything major.
Would you, under your belief system, Skeptic, I agree with that of the soul and a transplant. Do you think that a transplant would go and move partial of an influence with the body?
I don't know. I think that would be something that God would have to do. I don't think that's something that the soul could do in and of itself, as the soul would be limited to the one physical body. And that is how you can separate our souls, or minds, if you will, from the mind of God, is that our minds are limited to, we can only affect our physicality and our space, whereas God can affect all space. So we're just like one, I don't know how this fraction would work, but like 1/1,000,000th of like God's actual power. We're just in, our scope is limited.
For someone who's pretending to be a Christian, right, and that particular thing that Jamie described, and you know, I think that interpretation is very personal, and there has to be something behind it, right? That's a very, I don't think you could fake an answer to that question, but you came fucking damn close to faking an answer for that. So this is why I like Skeptic Skeleton. All right, there's only a few videos on his channel. The more people who subscribe, the more he will make. He just got a new laptop. They just got a new laptop, and you know, gonna be.
I do have a video that's like 75% done, so that should be coming out in the next week.
Definitely, and you know, the video that we had, the historicity of Jesus the other day, loads of views, good stuff. This came from Skeptic's channel. You know, it was their idea.
He's just taking the position, right? As a believer, you're saying?
Yes, we were killing time till you turned up, Jamie. So my next question, as a comment on how Skeptic did such a good job pretending to be a Christian, now that we've got one, yay!
That was genius, by the way. I like that. Yeah, that was good.
Not to be facetious,
Thank
but
you.
yay! Skeptic. Really quickly, Jamie, do you understand what an atheist is?
Remind me.
Damn
I
it.
do. I can't remember. An atheist?
I'm very sorry,
Yes.
Skeptic. Can you do that as an introduction and then ask them a question?
Okay, sure. So basically, an atheist is a variation of an atheist who does not believe because they do not understand the concepts that are supposed to be conveyed through spiritual labels. So I don't know what a God is. I don't know, again, now that we're exposing me, I'm not actually a Christian. I don't know what a God is, what a soul is. I don't know what these things are and how they function, how they exist. And I know the literal words, like I can look them up in the definition, but the concepts that people are trying to express, that God is outside of time and outside of space, but at the same time is not imaginary or fictional. Those things are the things that don't make sense to an atheist. So they cannot believe in a God because they don't understand what it is or what it refers to. They're not against the idea. It's just when you say that and you refer to those concepts, I don't know what that means, so I can't believe in it.
One question I would have would be, so it's just a matter of conceptual ignorance compared to an agnostic who likely understands the concepts but is undecided or something? Like what are the exact attributes that make the atheist not an agnostic, in other words?
Well, another way you could think about it is this kind of goes more to morality, but the idea of non-cognitivism, in the sense that moral language doesn't mean anything and it doesn't convey any actual concepts. Okay. Another phrase for atheism is theological non-cognitivism, which is that the spiritual labels don't mean anything. They don't refer to anything. They don't have any clear, concrete meaning. So it is, to an extent, a matter of ignorance, or ignorance around the specific concepts, but the ignorance is around the concept and not just the word. So it's not like I've never heard the word God or never heard
Okay, so it sounds to me like it might be better defined as belligerence. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so you want to question me now from that premise? Was that the idea, or did I miss something?
Sure. Either that, or if you had a question for me.
Okay, yeah. Well, because it sounds like you're in the position where you're like saying, I don't get the concept. Like, so do you want me to like describe what God is? Try to describe that to you? I'm not sure where you're going with this exactly. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't know if you had a question for me as an atheist, but if you'd like to just, explain your concept of God, I'm open to it.
Yeah, I have a slightly tentative view of God as simply being the kind of classical theistic God in the sense of a disembodied mind. Whatever that actually means is actually pretty difficult, honestly. I think, but he's like the source of, I would say the best argument would be he's like the non-contingent source. So I'm almost more comfortable saying he's non physical or something maybe, but I don't really care that much about that. So I would just say he's the creator and the source of existence. He's the unmoved mover sort of thing. So it seems to me the reason that's plausible is because whatever your concept of the universe, it seems that it's necessary that everything we can study or look at seems to be contingent. And so, at the PSR and all that stuff, it just seems like there has to be an explanation that grounds everything, and that would be a non-contingent source, which would appear to have to be an agent, because otherwise, if there was some sort of physical or natural cause that instantiates the universe, that would require like a decision to be made, and so a non-personal agent being the source doesn't make sense because of the passage of time and the universe beginning a finite time ago. Sorry, that was really convoluted, but I think I got all my points through there.
Yeah.
Do I need to restate it in a more concise way?
No. We'll have to go one point at a time, and I'll just sort of mention the biggest things that stuck out to me. So I noticed this a lot. What you described is not what God is, but what God does. So you haven't described, for example, if I asked you what a hammer is and you say, oh, it's a paperweight, that doesn't actually describe what it is, that describes what it does. So you're saying whatever that thing is that started everything, whatever that is, that's what God is. Rather than if you were describing what a human was to me, you wouldn't describe the different roles, jobs, biological functions. You would say, this is what a human is, this is what it's composed of, and this is how it functions. But that's not what you've done with God, very interestingly. It's just God creates everything, and he's the source of everything because everything needs a source, which I find odd because God doesn't need a source. And if God doesn't need a source, why does anything else?
Oh, because I think from experience, everything seems to be contingent, and so that would be what I mentioned about there needing to be something that's non-contingent that grounds existence. And I did readily admit that as far as the substance of God or how you'd want to conceive of that, I readily admit I don't know, but I do think I was trying to describe kind of the necessary being thing, the unmoved mover. So yeah, I'm ready to admit that I don't. It appears that like it doesn't make a lot of sense to think God is composed of kind of parts if he's if he's non-contingent, but so I would just say he's a necessary non-contingent source of being, I guess. And so
necessary meaning
the fact that why is there stuff, why is there existence at all, why do things exist? That's what I was going for.
So then you're of the position that things can't exist unless God makes them exist.
Yeah, because all contingent things are dependent on something else coming before it or causing it to exist or bringing it to be. Include like you could say not necessarily like everything in the universe is like just a reconstitution of existing matter, but even if that's the case, and so that stuff's always kind of existed in some form. It appears that because of proton decay perhaps or whatever, or the half-life of elements and the entropy in the universe, that it clearly had a beginning point. And so the consensus is that things began to exist. And so what could cause that other than something, you trace that back, you have to have a stopping point. And I would say the principle of sufficient reason would suggest an agent is a better answer than say like some sort of brute fact.
I had a response, but I know MathPig wanted
Oh no,
to
really,
jump
really
in.
simple. It's just picking on a wee small word up and popping in and out and watching the live chat and trying to sort some stuff as well, so I do it. The consensus is that it's this thing. So that's the Christian consensus. There is also, if we're going to use consensus, there's the physics consensus and all that sort of part. And maybe not consensus, but ideas. And happy to say we don't know. That I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if you caught that when Skeptic was bouncing back and forth.
I must have missed that. Sorry about that.
No. I was talking all fucking string theory and membrane.
I was kind of distracted too. Well, I would say this. I was in what I had in mind when I said that was kind of just this, the physicists, the cosmologists, the and you could actually, like, philosophically, you could appeal to philosophical logic for like the fact that you can it's kind of demonstratable or like self.
Yeah, just before we go down that route, the point I was making, and then I let you and Skeptic get back, is, we're both appealing to an authority, right? And it's not a fucking fallacy. I'm not going to say that because in certain points use the fallacies correctly, but I understand that you're appealing to a Christian consensus, and from our point of view, we'd be appealing physical, with a physics and that sort of consensus where we agree that there's about 20 different possibilities, and we agree that we don't know, right?
Wait, I wasn't appealing to a Christian consensus. In fact, I guess I'll readily admit that I don't really even think that the universe began to exist 14.7 billion years ago or whatever. But I think the point is, the main thing I'm trying to point out is that it seems like, has it changed that I'm not aware of, that the physicist community, the cosmological community doesn't think the universe began to exist anymore? I thought that was the case.
Oh, no. I heard you say consensus, and then like less than 30 seconds or so later, you said that it's a better answer to have, a goal.
Oh, yeah.
So I was taking that you were taking that as a consensus. So if people agree that
I didn't mean
a brain is a better thing, then I took that, I inferred Christian consensus from that.
Well, I have to explain the argument for it, but it's like, so I just meant the consensus was that everything began to exist that we can look at. But then as far as the rest, that was just my argument for why God is a better answer than, say, like a brute fact, or like why it doesn't work to say there was some natural cause, because, this is the William Lane Craig argument, basically, one of the only ones I really like. And it makes sense to think the universe started a finite time ago. And so there was a point in time, limited time, that the cause, whatever caused the universe to begin, was a finite time ago. Like, if there had been a natural cause like sitting around, why would it have only started X amount of time ago? That's the point. And so it seems like a decision, an agent, is a better answer because it was a decisive moment. It was a moment a finite time ago.
From a personal point of view, right? And I don't know why I was like this for ages. I was stretching my back. For when I was growing up, there was the big expanse, we're expanding, and then there's the big crush. And then I think is it better now? There was then the idea that this doesn't happen because the universe is expanding. And then from what I've been hearing, I haven't read any papers or anything on it yet, the idea of the big crunch may be possible. And although I'm a big proponent of heat death, the black hole.
There is a heat.
Yeah,
there's
the black
a heat
holes.
death.
Yeah, the black holes and sort of stuff like that. But the idea of the point I'm making, right, is when you're talking about before time and this and having to have a start, what's physically now popping back in again, because as I say, we don't know. Ideas come and go. We follow the evidence, so we can say one thing and then it shows wrong, and then we're like, oh shit, we were right because we got this. We literally don't know. We just follow the evidence as it goes. But the idea that the big expanse and the big crush, there is no start. There is no before time. It's a different go every time. Wildheart is a point. Jamie, would you then retort after that? I was then volumes and is Fida.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, if God exists without a reason, how would God not be a brute fact? You're saying a being is better than a brute fact, but if God existed with no reason, wouldn't that make God a brute fact? Isn't that what a brute fact is? I don't see the difference between a brute fact. And
Yeah, I thought that too when I first started learning about it, and I was talking to my philosopher friend, and he was not a theist, by the way, Danny from Phil Talk. And as I'm trying to remember the exact way to.
We all love Danny. Danny.
I love Danny.
The most
You
beautiful
guys like
man
him or
on
not?
YouTube, in my opinion. Yeah.
What? He's what?
The most beautiful man on YouTube, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
he's quite lovely, really.
Except MathPig. Sorry.
Oh, you saved yourself from the. You were not.
Too late. Saved himself too late.
Oh, Danny boy.
No,
the
Danny.
voice
I think the second question I asked Danny why I interviewed him was, so everybody thinks you're a troll and an asshole. Tell me why.
Why are you a heretic? Yeah. The first time I met him too, he was kind of a dick to me, and I kind of like lost my cool, and then I was like, you know what, he's right though.
I'm just looking at the chat, and Spartan says that my volume is low on purpose because no one cares.
I think you got a bag over your mic. Is the problem. I don't really like these.
Right, no, Skeptic. Back to Skeptic. We're wild-hearted at a point, and then Skeptic was going to say something, Jimmy.
Yeah, so I just wanted an answer to that question. If God existed with no reason, how would God not be a brute fact? That's what a brute fact is. It exists for no reason.
Talking about a presupposition.
I have a short answer. But do you want to go to Skeptic, or do you want me to answer that?
No, I wanted Wildheart to finish their point and you guys to finish your exchange first, though.
Okay, yeah. If I recall, the reason it has to do with the principle of sufficient reason, and so under that like model or whatever, and so like this is getting into territory I'm not very familiar with, so I could misspeak. So forgive me. That's just a warning. But it's something like a brute fact is like where you just say something just is, it is like a base thing. It just happens to be. It just is that way. But the thing with the God is you're actually trying to look at, like, I guess the ontology, of existence or whatever. And so it's like God is actually the non-contingent source. And so it's actually more of by God's definition of what God is, like classically or historically, I believe, it's actually giving a reason. It's giving an actual basis. Like he's a supernatural being, blah, blah, blah. And he's an agent, and he can make decisions. But brute facts are kind of like when you don't take I think that's right, when you don't take the route of wanting, because there's other things that go along with having the principle of sufficient reason that make explanations of certain things difficult with God. Like, why did God have to do certain things, or was he free to do something else, and then kind of messes with that system. But as far as the difference between brute facts, that's the first thing I said too. It sounds like God's just a brute fact too, but no, he's actually an explanation more than just merely a brute fact.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't understand it fully myself, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Skeptic.
Yeah, so now I gotta remember where I was because I got caught up in that. I don't know. I think I'll just follow that because that's easier than trying to go back to my previous point. So I'm trying to think of the way to ask this. Do you think that the rules of a game apply before the game starts?
Yeah.
And what regard? And I'm using specifically sports games, for example. Do you think the rules of a sports game apply before the game actually starts?
Normally, yeah. Normal conception, yes, it would. I mean, you theoretically could develop a sport on the fly, but it would have to develop, and so it wouldn't really be the game yet. So it wouldn't be the game until rules were decided on and agreed upon.
So what I'm trying to understand is, because you think that the rules of a game or the rules of a system, as it were, can apply before the system exists, then you would say that those rules necessarily apply. For example, the contingency rule would apply to the universe, even though there was no universe before it existed. The rules that we observe in the universe necessarily apply to before the universe as well, is what you're saying?
Well, no, conceptually, I would say, like when you use a term like a game or something, yeah, like that to me is defined by whatever rules are that make it what it is. It's kind of like the essence of what a game is. No, but at the same time, I would say you could, the only game that would be different would be the game where you make up the rules on the fly. That game would be different or something. But if you're going with the universe thing, like, did the universe have to? Well, I would say, in a certain sense, yeah, conceptually, if you want the universe we have, beforehand.
Why do you think that anyone wanted the universe we have beforehand?
Well, because I'm a theist.
Okay, that kind of doesn't answer the question.
Right. But I mean, that's kind of like
come to that conclusion.
Yeah, well, I would say that's kind of like directly related to whether or not God exists or not. So,
I guess I'm just trying to get to follow your line of reasoning in that regard. So like, how did you get to that? I guess maybe this is more of a how did you get to theism point.
Okay. Well, I believe there's sufficient evidence to think that logically and evidentially, from a more refined theism like Christianity or something, that there's evidence that God exists, and then that being the case, that the idea of purpose and the sense of agency that we have, and the sense of morality that we have, that things are actually wrong or not, or that evil exists. I would say the evidential particulars for Christianity and Judaism, and then the logical, philosophical, and logical necessities of what I described earlier.
Okay, so it's not basically you're saying that God is the explanation for reality, but reality is not the explanation for God, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the point I got confused at. I thought you were starting with reality and then using that to derive God rather than the other way around. But yeah, that was mainly the other thing. I can keep going, but does anyone else want to interject or have any points or anything?
Whiteheart does.
Okay.
Whiteheart does. Yes, he does. He put his camera back on.
I got a question for you guys.
I mean, sausage. I was saying, carry on. I don't.
You're eating a sausage, are you? You're eating a sausage.
Are you guys atheists? You guys are all atheists or what?
Atheist, atheist. Wildheart's a special case.
Okay, so do you think that there's a proper third position called agnostic?
I would consider myself agnostic, and I live my life as atheistic. That is the definition that I have come up with. That seems to.
That's fair.
There we go. Now we're back again. Sorry, I was doing some editing there because everybody's went fucking off. I'm doing my nice off camera with my bouncy lines. But yeah, I would consider myself agnostic, but I live my life atheistic towards the Christian God.
Did you hear Darth Dawkins with praise?
I don't
on his
listen
praises?
to that shit.
Okay, yeah.
I'd give. In all honesty, man, I'll follow that up with praise is more worthwhile listening to than Asshole 104 is the reference that we use here, because he doesn't even get that enough respect to use his official name. Okay, so it's Asshole 104.
Yeah, he pisses me off sometimes. But,
but
I was arguing with because Darth Dawkins says
Asshole 104.
Okay.
Call him Asshole 104. That was rude of me to just be jumping.
No, that's fine.
Instead of saying that, just say Asshole 104.
What about, do you know who Steve McRae is?
Probably more than you, but yes.
You don't like him, huh?
I am not going to comment on that.
Okay.
I know he dislikes. I know that he dislikes me, but I have not. Yeah, we're not going to go down.
No, I agree with him. I agree with him on his point about atheism and what Matt Dillahunty says atheism is.
Sorry, just got excited. With the baby!
Hey!
Hello.
Spartan made it.
Oh, that.
Hey, look, I'm on a panel with Spartan Theology. I'm famous.
Spartan sounds, if I don't mind, I'm making a wee joke, and I know you've just put the kids and all to bed, but man, lean a wee bit closer to the mic because you sound so defeated. You're like, them kids just fucking took it out of me. I'm here because I fucking said I'd be here. I'm hanging about for 5 minutes and I'm leaving.
Is that
Spartan
better?
is here on the will of God himself.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Barely.
It's my, I'm using
Yeah,
my
I
cell
can hear
phone,
you.
so it's my stupid headphones. It's probably about as good as it's gonna get, though.
I was just being my usual asshole self, and I understand what it's like to be a father sometimes. I did it with one. You got twins, so fathers first. Always sort that shit first, man.
Yeah.
From what you have been listening, have you any questions or any criticism? Oh.
I don't know specifically right now. I know the whole like atheist thing. I don't really necessarily understand it maybe, or don't think it makes that much sense, but I know we've kind of moved past that or hit that a few times, so I'm open to whatever, but other than that, I don't have anything specific.
I love this, right? You're like the third person who's joined out of like. Thank you very much for joining. Have you any challenges? You know the whole point of the panel and that. They were like, nope, been listening. It's a good convo. Just want to be here. I'll wait to hear something cool. I'll jump in. Say,
I have something.
Sorry, I'm in an answer.
Go ahead, Wildart.
Yep, Wildart, thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No, we want you to talk. No, we're literally asking you to talk.
Yes.
Right. Me.
Yes, you.
Right, okay. I was just going to say, agnostic and atheist have different definitions. It's not theist, agnostic, atheist. Agnostic is about belief, and
You're
theist.
gonna make the fucking knowledge claim.
I always get the two mixed up, but it's about belief and knowledge. Agnostic, Gnostic is about knowledge.
Yeah.
Under
knowledge.
Atheist is about belief. So it's not agnosticism is not a middle ground. You are either a theist or you are an atheist.
Okay,
It's
I'm gonna
like-
ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you a question then, Wildheart, right? We are, I think everybody but me and you is in America, right? Right? Describe a cookie.
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
Describe.
never mind.
Sorry. You, Skeptic, you different?
No, I was gonna make a joke, but never mind.
Describe a cookie, Wildheart.
A cookie is a round chocolate, normally chocolate biscuit, basically.
A really
Yes.
bad description of what we in the UK call a cookie. I would say it's like a baked thing with like chocolate chips or something in it, and it's a subsection of a biscuit, right?
Yeah.
I would say cookie is a subsection of a biscuit, right?
Yeah.
Where people in America would refer to as what we would say a biscuit as something different. They would say a biscuit, as our understanding, is a cookie.
Yes, but the problem
So
is,
would you agree with, if you were talking to an American about cookies and biscuits, you would take their definition and you would go with it?
Whoa. I would take an American definition of an English word.
If you were having I would generally think if you were wanting to have a discussion on biscuits and cookies, right?
Yeah.
Or even on what's best to go with a warm beverage, right? The whole point of the debate is what goes best on a warm beverage, and the American says cookie, and you disagree with it, but they actually mean the same as you, which is a biscuit. You know, it's you need to get past definitions to have the conversation about what goes best with.
No, it doesn't matter about the definitions. The fact is, you either believe in a god or you do not believe in a god. It's a dichotomy. There are only two options. Not whether a god exists or not. I'm saying you either believe in a god or you do not believe in a god. There's no other option. You are either atheist or you are theist. It's not about definitions of words. You are one or the other. Sorry.
If I could jump in.
I'm
Want to say
Wesley.
hi?
I'm Wesley Curry. I'm in Huntington, West Virginia. Almost heaven, West Virginia. Yeehaw.
Hello, Wesley. Nice to chat.
Just
Hello,
a bit of
Wesley.
news. Take me 30
You're-
seconds to tell you.
Oh no, I think we heard it last time.
If
What
it's
Wesley?
anything like
About
Dude,
the
if
rock
it's
in your
anything
mouth.
like your message out the back.
About the rock
Right.
in your mouth.
I don't know what you're doing to my mouth.
You'll be getting a rock in your mouth today from Jesus.
You promised me
You know
Domino's.
he's God,
You promised me
and
Domino's
you
last
seek to
weekend.
anger him.
You promised me
You know
Domino's
Jesus
last
is
week.
God, and you seek to anger him. He gave you 2 healed teeth, and you said not. So today, you get a rock in your mouth. You want war.
Wesley, you promised me Domino's last time, and I got no Domino's. Get any Domino's?
Can you explain that in English now, Wesley? For those of us who are sort of here on Earth.
Plain as can be, a rock.
No, dude, that was not plain. That was garbage.
Your mouths.
What does that mean?
I'm just
Am I
gonna pop him in,
basically
right?
gonna
No,
get
shush,
a
everybody.
fucking
Let's
pebble
clip
off
it.
the
He said
road
your
in my
mouths.
mouth?
He said your mouths. What comes next?
What comes next?
Right. So we've got your mouth. What comes next? Right. Let's see.
Jesus, would you have them gnash their teeth?
Oh, that would. Oh, right. He just needs to say one more fun thing. One more funny thing.
Gnash your teeth all up.
There you go, and we're done. Thanks, Wesley, for coming.
So
That's
if
the
you
last.
don't gnash our teeth, you're full of shit.
So that
correct?
actually
If I
brings
don't
up
get this
something a
pebble
little
in
interesting.
my mouth, you're full of shit, correct?
That brings up something very
Is this
interesting.
a literal pebble, a metaphorical pebble? Would you like to explain?
Sammy's in America.
common
Or
English?
sorry, Sammy's not in America. Sammy's in Australia, so there's a wee bit of a delay with Sammy. So.
Okay. So that brings up something very interesting, because somewhere in all of that, I believe he said something like, you already know. And so my question is this: if you think we already know, why are you talking to us? Are you trying to tell us something you think we already know, as if that's going to make us
I don't know if you can
change?
see the private chat, Skeptic. We'll just say look in the private chat. And
Oh no, I saw the private chat.
yeah, he was here last week as well. He promised us all food would arrive at our doors if we said nice things about God. So we did, and none of us got Domino's.
Oh, that's what you meant by Domino's. I was confused by that.
Yeah, I think we're all getting rocks this week because we didn't stop. I tell you, Wesley, if someone had sent me a Domino's, I wouldn't have done it this week. If I had got a Domino's within the 15 minutes that you promised, I probably would have been a little moved and wouldn't do this week. Back to actual
We all
conversation.
just make an agreement here that if any of us wind up with a pebble in our mouth, to let the others of us know.
Sorry, hold on, I spit this rock out. Spartan was making a point.
I'm a skeleton, so do my teeth count as rocks or no? I'm just curious.
Well, being a skeleton, has your bottom jaw fallen off, or have you been using super glue, or that will fall off without muscles and shit to be there, like?
Yeah, it happens from time to time. You know, I live in hell, so it tends to happen when you have the souls of the damned screaming back and forth. But you know, I got some wiring to wire it properly. So
good idea. Good idea.
I have a thought experiment for you.
Go for it, Jimmy. Save us.
Pebble in the mouth from Jesus, anything like the piece of soul.
Hold on. Right. I'm going to keep saying right to the time lapse, to the right. Now Sammy hears me. Sammy, finish your point, and then Jamie has a thought experiment. So if you can finish what you're saying, Sammy, and then after that we will retort.
Curious, because I find that God is often just Santa Claus for adults who didn't want to grow up. I'm wondering if the pebble in the mouth is any correlation to the getting coal at Christmas when you're naughty.
You love being naughty, so you be quiet.
I almost said that I had a coal in my stocking. I almost said that too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that was my first thought.
Merry Christmas, Mother Scooter.
Okay, thought experiment now.
Okay, so let's imagine that we've come up with a way to sufficiently augment the brain or whatever, and download memories or something like that.
Right, right. Augment or something like that. Download something like that.
So we could make it so we could download a memory, like so that it appeared that you had done something that you hadn't done, so you could have the memory of an experience. Okay, in the
So
future.
are we talking about that movie? I think it's called like Dark. Yes, they have Jimmy.
The Sixth Day is the one I had in mind, but
Strange Days. Thank you very much. Strange Days. They have...
I haven't seen that.
Literally, they have a head unit that you can wear, and people get addicted to wearing them, and it records everything you see and hear and all the rest of it. And a guy who used to be a cop gets addicted to this. Well, he gets addicted to memories of before him and the girlfriend broke up. His girlfriend ends up going off with this, like, I don't want to say drug lord, gang lord sort of guy that runs, like, this club thing. And this guy then gets dragged into it because someone who went to this dying, he's like a private investigator now. And it's all about the recording of what happened and trying to get hold of it. Strange Days, man. It's literally exactly what you're talking about. They record memories. They can download it into your brain. You can be... I think the tagline is, you can be the right person for the right 10 minutes. And then they follow it up with something cooler. Right?
Yeah, that's where I'm going with it. Like, so it has to do with guilt and innocence, but I was going to take it a different direction slightly. Just that
Star Trek Voyager did it.
Ready Player 2 recently did this as well. Ready Player 2. Sorry, Sammy, delay.
That's cool. Yeah, that's I'm not too familiar with new shows or movies the last year or two, but
Ready Player 1 is a movie, but the actual book series has 2. Ready Player 2 goes into the point of not only do you upload your mind into an avatar, and they run around, but you upload your actual physical sensations. Now you go into a slightly bigger suit than just a pair of VR glasses.
Oh yeah, that was that Spielberg movie.
No, yeah. Ready Player 1 was, yeah. Well, in Ready Player 2, it goes into after what happens, right? And there is a new device that was developed before this guy died that he put away. And when the new fella takes over, he gets access to it. And when you're in the virtual world and you eat an apple, it's the best goddamn apple you've ever had in your life. The only thing you don't experience is pain. You can shoot yourself in the foot and it's like, oh, that's a bit of an itch. But it doesn't feel like shooting yourself in the foot. But you can be and do and absolutely anything, and you physically experience it. And also, it gives you the ability to record real life experiences. So there's a part of it where it's there's a person surfing. It's like a world championship person surfing, and they're recording it, and you experience it in sort of like, they do a really good description of how it's a controlled environment, but it still feels natural. So you get that experience as well of actually experiencing real life experiences that people have recorded. And you can create your own goddamn one where you can feel and sensation everything. And they even mentioned an NSFW section and all that rest. I think they said that the biggest one on the net, the SysNet or whatever the fuck they called it, was a 20-person orgy where everybody wore these headsets where you could literally jump and change between anyone you wanted and feel and sensations of everything that anybody was going through. It was a whole big party. That was like one of the big things that was happening on the net of this SysNet or whatever it was like. But OmniNet, that's what it's called. OMA net. But yeah, that was one of the popular videos. It's madness.
Yeah, well, what about this? What if what if you commit a crime and then somebody comes along while you're sleeping and then takes the criminal while they're sleeping, and they record the memory of the murder that the other guy committed, record it, and then erase it from his memory, and then put that memory in your head and the appropriate necessary things to make you think you right. Who would be guilty?
Star Trek Voyager. Star Trek Voyager.
You didn't point exactly. Tom Paris.
Tom Paris. Yes. Yeah. Tom Paris came in and was flirting with a woman who was very vacacious. I can't remember the fucking word. She was very flirty with him and all the rest of it. And her husband then turned up dead. So they took him, they took Tom Paris, and they took the memory of the murder and put it into... They took the memory of the murder from the perspective of the person who was murdered. and they put it into his mind, and he had to experience it, I think, every 12 hours, Sammy, or every 19 hours or something like that. He had to go through this. Now, he was falsely accused, and he was being used as a spy to smuggle information out. So when he experienced the memory, there was text scrolling across the bottom that the spies were looking for. But he was falsely, and every 19 hours or something like that, he had to experience the murder from the person who was murdered's point of
I actually do not think that would work, to be honest with you. If I just thought of this because I've thought about this before in different versions of this.
Well, if you killed someone, right? If you had that memory, it's very hard to find the murderer straight away after after it happened. Thinking about it logically, you're not instantly going to find the murderer unless they're fucking standing there, whatever doing, freaking in the corner because it was unless they're there, you're not going to find them straight away if the body is dead. Now, you think if you take the murderer, right, after you catch him, and you've got the memory before the body went rigid and all the rest of it, and died, actually went, and passed away, brain's still active, and you took the memory of the murder, and you've got the feelings, the emotion, the hearing, the visual, and you give that to the murderer as punishment, rather than putting him into prison.
Oh, I see.
That was where Star Trek Voyager was going. You're free to go, but every 19 hours, you're going to experience what you did to this other person. Now, they tweaked the memory a wee bit so that when he was looking at it from the murdered person's perspective, it did look like him, but it wasn't him. They tweaked it. But he's seen, like, you imagine seeing yourself kill someone, and the anger and the loss of control or whatever's going on in your facial expressions and how you're doing it, and the sensation of, I think it was a stabbing, wasn't it, 420?
Yeah, it was a stabbing. And he also started to be convinced that maybe he did it.
Because they were
and
drinking.
That's the point. Yeah.
And it was funny because she was smoking and she was like, would you like a wee bit? And he was like, no, in our culture we stopped doing that. So have we, but I don't give a fuck. He really did hate her life, that's how he ended up being. I'm giving more context you're probably not getting except for that.
Well, the thing is, like, if you, let's say you didn't commit a murder and then they framed you and they gave you the memory and you thought you did it, would that really work? Even if they like added memories where you like left your house and they erased your memory to like insert this one, right, just flawlessly, right? So you have this memory that you left your house, when you woke up in the morning or whatever. Did it?
I think it
I don't know
would
that
work.
would still work. I don't think it would. I think everything's so interconnected with
it depends on the situation. If you give me a memory of me at work on Tuesday or Wednesday, right, of me going to work and it being fake, right, but you give me a memory of me maybe not necessarily doing exactly the same thing I was, but over in a different machine, right? It does happen. It's possible that can happen. Rarely does. Sometimes does. But that's a fake memory that I would accept, right? Now, if you put a memory in my mind on a Wednesday morning or Tuesday morning, when I know that I went, I generally would be going home and, you put a memory in my mind of me driving my car and robbing a bank, I'd be like, right, that was a dream. It depends on the situation and how tweaked or how different the memory would be to actual reality. Now, say for talk's sake, if I can just finish, right? And I know Wildheart's left, and he probably, at the minute, he might hate me, but say for talk's sake, you took Wildheart and you put his situation with what's going on at the minute, and 420 knows this, right? I'm going to be really nice. Wildheart's still here. Don't mention men at work. Sammy wants to do karaoke. No karaoke, right? But if I took a memory, Wildheart's still here. Say if I'm right or wrong, Wildheart, right? If I took a memory of Wildheart going out the front of his house and going down the stairs and going across to the shop and screaming and shouting and lifting things and throwing it through the window and going fucking ape shit in the shop and throwing a fit and waking up the next morning because he was probably drinking and because it was a late night and because the shop's right across the road and there has been incidences where he disagreed with the shop staff, this is a possible memory that could be accepted. Even though it's extreme, it's situational. You know, like I'm not generally a violent person, not anymore a generally violent person, but if you put a memory in my mind on a Sunday of somebody breaking into the house on a Saturday night and being not nice to my daughter, and me waking up on the floor, then I'd be like, right, that could have possibly happened, because it's extreme, but she's here. That's the timing. It's possible, you know.
And it's also, so I think it would work because
We're
the way
talking
that
Inception
memories
now. We're
work
literally
is-
talking Inception.
Yeah, and the more you see, especially with the Voyager thing, because it kept being played every so often, when you dwell on a memory or you think about it over and over and over again, it becomes more and more real. That's the thing, Jamie. The more time you spend dwelling on it, you start to lose grip of where it came from.
I want to ask a question.
Was it reality? Was it a dream? Am I making this whole thing up? The further you get from the point of it happening, the less you have to be certain.
I want to ask a question. I want to make a
So
statement.
it becomes much easier to become convinced of things, which I realized I was doing the other day. So I have a story that I tell people that is my one unexplainable supernatural experience.
You
And
have a
I
presupposition.
realized the other day when I was telling it that I'm convincing myself more every time I tell the story. And when I sat down seriously and tried to conjure real memories from that time, I couldn't do it.
It's just that one
I've
memory
been
that jumps out
making
at you.
shit up my whole life. Like, sorry, go on, MathPig.
I wanted to ask Jamie a question in reference to what you're saying, and then sort of follow it up. So, Jamie, when you remember a memory, it's watching a memory in your mind, like a vision, like a brain, whatever. And it creates an emotional from what you've visually seen.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm hoping now 420 will agree with me in this. Maybe Skeptic, I don't know if he's looked into this. But our visual memory is a very small part of what we actually retain. What we create in our mind is foundationally an emotional response. So if you say, I'm going to make it extreme and make an analogy, you remember falling down the stairs, and in actual real life you fell down the stairs and you broke, say, your big toe, right? It was very sore. You were 3 and 4, you know. Oh, that rhymed. You know, that's how you remembered emotionally, as really, 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 really bad pain. So as you get older, your emotional memory, which becomes a foundational, when you're 12, you said you broke your ankle. Then it expanded one night when you were drinking and you said that you broke your fucking... And by the time you're 25, your emotional memory, because of the relativeness of how strong the pain was to what happened, it's the emotional foundation. So the visual is built upon the emotional response. So what we actually remember visually in our minds and the story we tell is foundationally the opposite way than what you would actually think, going by studies, going by papers, going by science.
I would agree. I see it that way. Like, yeah, like when I cut my finger off.
Pardon?
When I cut my finger off 20 years ago, or when I had a cancerous tumor in my testicle, couldn't forget it. It's like PTSD.
I got kicked in the nuts and my balls swelled last year, and I remember that. Can't get no worse than that, but yeah, I know how you feel, man. Oh, he's back.
Yep, I'm back.
I'm with an icon.
And hopefully,
There is a slight echo.
Well, my other thought experiment's better, but I already gave it that one time.
Oh, yes, that was the whole point. That was the reason I interrupted. I think I'm going to make a statement and then give it to Skeptic because I'm a bit drunk. Jamie, this thought experiment, I think is very, I wouldn't say similar, but could I consider it an offshoot or a mini series to what we were talking about when that lovely Antangelo was here, and the whole soul and experience and memory and repetition in a philosophical world where it's possible. I think this is like an offshoot and a more in-depth. That was good. Skeptic, maybe watch that.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to say I have a slightly unique perspective, and this is completely anecdotal, so this is not like actual evidence. But I don't remember things that way. I have a memory defect, and the way my memory works is like I remember remembering, but I don't actually remember the experience itself. So I can't remember. I can remember like maybe what I felt, but I don't feel it again. I don't have any kind of an emotional reaction to it. It's like watching something else or watching a film or something. I don't have that kind of a connection to my memories because I don't actually directly remember them. I just remember talking about them, referencing them, and different things like that. And if I don't remember, like if I don't remember remembering something, if I'm not constantly utilizing a memory, I'll completely forget it altogether, and then I'll never remember it. So that's the way
Can
my
I jump in there for a second, Skeptic?
Wow, you're
sorry.
very late for
I feel like that's to some degree what we all do. As you were saying that, I've had that thought myself, that when I think of memories, I don't remember the thing itself, but I remember me remembering it other times.
Yes.
And I also will have memories that I discover aren't a memory, they're a photo that I've seen. And that photo became a memory in my head.
Yeah, that's called
I've
you guys
turned
are
it into a memory.
handicapped. That's what that's.
I'm not disagreeing, Jamie, but my point is I think we all are.
Yeah, because to be honest, I was
Some of
kind of
us have
thinking, yeah, I think
realized.
that's everybody, man. Like I have little snippets of like a feeling, but I don't really get the feeling. But I can remember what the feeling's like, you know, like waking up early in Hawaii and like the feeling of the air conditioning and the warmth of the air outside and the sun coming up, or the feeling of being in the ocean for just a moment, and then the little snapshot pictures in my head. That's about it.
Yeah.
See, we're in a great. See, how do you like?
Well,
Trying to figure out my words. So give me 420. Give me a second. 420. Sammy, give me a second. Just try and. If you are under the belief system, Jamie, that's how our memory works. Also, Sammy's possibly going to run an after party soon. You're under the belief system that's how our memory works, okay? And you're also under the belief system that we have. How do you make a connection with them? Is it the soul that is stronger, and that's why we're making an emotional response, or is it? I'm finding it difficult. If I was,
Well, you remember, I don't really believe in dualism. So
you did say a soul before.
I'd say we are a soul.
Yes, a soul is a combination of, from what I understand from you, a soul is a combination of the entity that gives the physical body life force. Yeah.
That's it, though. You got a dead body and you got a body with a spirit, which just means it's a living body, and so that's a soul.
So you're going to fall. So you would fall back then on the reason this happens, as well as us, on a physicality point of view.
Yeah, I do. I think it's physical.
Cool. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah. It becomes a limitation of the soul. No, it's a limitation, and the soul has limits because it's trapped in the physical body.
Yeah, I would say
good night to Greyheart, lads.
Greyheart, enjoy your dinner. Thank you very much for jumping in. Appreciate it.
I jokingly say dead people, they're not alive.
I see dead people all the time.
Because dead is what happens when you stop being alive. Dead is what happens when you stop being alive. So when you're dead, you're not alive.
But what about the
amazing?
I'm not an expert
amazing thought.
On memory, obviously, but the way I've understood memory is that it's essentially our brain trying to recreate the neural pathways that happened during that experience.
Yes, it's a recreation. Yes.
Yeah, and that's how the little bits of misinformation seep in, because it's never going to be able to reproduce it.
Are you saying like creation ex nihilo, bro?
What was that? Say that again for my
Sorry,
benefit.
sorry.
All right. I got lost.
I am a Christian. I'm sorry.
You're a heretic, Jimmy. Admit it.
That's fine. Dead people aren't alive.
Blind people can't see.
It's true.
These are true statements.
If you poop your pants, there's poop in your pants.
No. No, I cleaned my pants earlier before I joined stream. Now, if you'd asked me about 4 hours ago...
Don't tell. You just admitted you poop your pants.
I didn't poop my pants.
No, I believe in resurrection. That's what I believe in. Did you know nobody... I don't see anybody that went to heaven without their body in the Bible, anyways.
No, yes, you're under the belief that everybody dies and they have a sleeping sensation. What I did refer to as a session, like when you sleep. You die, and then when you wake up again...
Yeah, the sleep is a metaphor.
Yes.
So
more of an analogy.
Because you're going to wake up. It's not because your body looks like it's sleeping. It's the analogy is...
You know who believes that, Jamie?
What?
That's a Jehovah's Witness doctrine.
No, they have a slightly modified version, but
we're being
you die. Well,
okay, that's a great. Hold on, just to say that's going to be a great point.
Everyone else is dead, bro.
Actually, they got it from us. I grew up a Seventh Day Adventist, and I still find the arguments.
Jamie, what was the statement you made? Because that's what we're going to call Sammy's 420 is after party.
I'm afraid, Jamie,
dead people aren't alive.
Seventh Day Adventists. Because the Seventh Day Adventists and the Jehovah's Witnesses both come from the same church.
The
leaders of both of those attended the same church.
So this is what happened. The Millerite movement, the second half of the Great Awakening, is what it was, and then the Great Appointment happened, and then groups came out of it called the Adventists, the ones that were expecting the second advent of Christ, and the Adventists were formed first, and the Jehovah's Witness came kind of out of people from that. So yes, it's from the same stream, the same history, the same beliefs in a way, but they went way off. They went way heterodox, or I would say heretical or whatever. But they don't hold to the Trinity. They don't hold to they don't think Jesus is divine. They don't. So
because none of that's in the Bible, but that's regardless, because both the Adventists and the Witnesses are wrong.
Well, I would say. I would say there's other people. It's not like it was invented then. It was people believed it. The early church believed in conditional immortality, I would call it. You don't have to be a physicalist monist strictly probably to hold that view, but I take a Christian physicalist view, basically that your mind is dependent on the brain. Although I still believe in disembodied minds potentially, but I don't even know what an angel is anyway. It's a spirit, whatever that means.
I've called the stream "Dead People Aren't Alive?" ? 420 and Sammy discussing. I'm going to set it. I'm going to set it for 10 minutes.
I wanted to hear Spartan's answer to my original thought experiment, which was actually one that I came up with. This other one I got from somebody else, but I think that's an interesting one. I'm always curious how their answers. I'm always shocked at their answer.
Hit me. Yeah.
I'd like to go after.
I need to say it again, Jamie. I'm not even sure I got the first one.
Oh, okay. Well, this one I gave before at another time, and it was kind of fun, I thought. But okay, so
Skeptic did try to answer as well. There is a delay. There's a bad delay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You directed me, my friend.
Skeptic, go.
Yeah. No, I said I wanted to answer the original thought experiment, but he was just about to say it, so I was going to let him say the original thought experiment.
Well, I just didn't hear you, but go on ahead. That would be a perfect recap.
Okay, yeah. Answer. I'll try to be succinct and as quick as I can. So remember, some of the aspects of this, the details you'll have to just consider. Like we can't probably do it per se, but it's logically possible. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay. You take essentially Siamese twins, like two cells. What do you call it? Like Siamese twins would be right. Exact identical copies of the same person, from like the cell splitting into like twins or whatever, but like perfect identical DNA. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's what I forget what they call it. Mitosis, like it accidentally doubles or whatever. Okay. But let's say they're perfectly identical from the very beginning. You set up two environments and two, like kind of like you could think of it like the Truman Show even, but like more, it could be more constrained or not, whatever. But here's the aspects of the experiment. everything is set up so that to the Planck second, everything happens exactly simultaneously. They're in the same rooms right next to each other, but they don't know each other exist or anything. Okay, but they're sealed, and the environment is precisely identical to the time, the moment anything's fed to it, the temperature, even cosmic rays bombarding the building, gravity, everything, every little thing down to the smallest increment possible. Okay, so you take these two exact DNA things and you grow the fetus and all that with everything exactly the same, every moment and pressure. Okay, now they come into age, they learn how to talk or whatever, everything's going on in these sealed environments. Would they not, these two people in these two environments, not end up responding precisely the same to the stimulus as they grew, presuming it was all identical in every possible conceivable sense? Pressures, cosmic rays, temperature, all that, and timing, everything, environment, precisely identical. Would it not just be like seeing two movies, or the same movie on two different screens if you were watching from outside? Or do you think that these people would give different answers for some? And why, if you think that, why would you think that? Or what's causing it to be any different?
Okay, I would agree with what you're saying. I would just see it as two sets of dominoes set up in exactly the same way and set up to start at exactly the same time. And I don't see how they could be different than what they were. So yeah, if everything was exactly the same in both scenarios, I don't see any reason or any method by which anything could be different if everything else was the same. It's basically, at least the way I think about this is just my thing of how I think about events usually happening, is it's in a mathematical way. If you have 2 and you add another 2, you will always get 4 no matter how many times you do it.
In base 10.
So other things don't matter if you're splitting them apart, or if you're adding 2 plus 2 one day and then adding 2 plus 2 a different day, you'll always get the same result.
I think I thought of one more thing that should probably be stated about it. So everything in this sealed environment is precisely the same, but they exist at the same time, and that they could, let's say they're right next to each other or whatever, but you're still, all the effects are the same, but they do exist spatially at the same time, close together, but sealed off from each other. But you simulate all the aspects as being the same pressures.
This
but
is
they do exist.
This is what you put forth to me, Jimmy.
They are existing at the same moment in time in 2 separate places, but that would be the only thing I'd add to that.
This is what you put forth to me, Jimmy, the other day, last week or whatever. Then we tweaked it for Antangelo and made it a replica in a different time, and he gave a weird answer.
Well, I'll just say, let me say really briefly, when I first came up with this, I was talking to my friend who's a hard determinist Christian, so he believes everything's determined by God, and I do not. I'm like hardcore libertarian free will in my theodicy, or just the way my theology. And so it was what I found profoundly interesting is that because I'm a physicalist, but I still believe in libertarian free will, I felt compelled to say that they would be precisely the same, although they would be in some sense 2 different people, but maybe I can't even say that. But so I have an issue with my own conclusion. And then my friend, who's a determinist, said, no, they absolutely wouldn't do the same things because they'd be 2 different people, because God gives them a soul. And I'm thinking well, yeah. But he's a determinist, so God has to have this extra life. And I just found it fascinating that, him being a determinist thought, no, they would, of course they'd be different because they're 2 people. And I'm saying, yeah, in what way are they 2 different people? You could clone yourself and insert your memories into a clone, and they both think they were you. So sorry, Spartan, what would you make of this whole thing? What's your
I'm trying to think how this isn't just a question of determinism versus some sort of free will. In my head, I think they would act differently, but I just think if you control for I don't know, I'm thinking, you're saying every physical aspect is happening to them exactly the same. So therefore, if there's no such thing as a soul or whatever, in quotes.
Well, yeah, you can if you hold to a different concept of soul, that's fine. Just say you can have your your what's the word, theology or whatever, but just
yeah,
that's what I'm curious what your theology is, and then what you think would.
Can I ask a question before that conversation gets started off? could I request that they move to the link in the other one, because that would be a long conversation. If we move an after party, then I get still the wee daughter here, so I can get up early in the morning and leave Sammy in charge. But can we bounce to that link, and then we can restart it? It's literally 2 minutes to Sammy's joins. So if everybody in the chat that's watching clicks that link, and everybody that's on the panel clicks the StreamYard's link that I have posted in the chat. Yes, ones and ends and UU. And it'll all just click that, and we'll all continue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that okay, Ethan?
Yeah. Sounds good. That's fine.
Perfect.
Yep, me
Right.
too.
So before you do that, thank you everybody for coming. Appreciate everybody that was here, and huge shout out to Skeptic Skeleton for coming on. A lot of respect for the man. As I say, not a lot of stuff going on YouTube, but in the behind the scenes and talking to them, and can't get enough of having the banter with Skeptic. Very good man, works hard, does a lot of good things. So
Thank you.
Skeptic, would you like to say anything? Then we'll go Jamie and then Spartan, and we'll end.
I thank you for the healthy debate. I learn everything I learn by talking to people with different beliefs, and I hope that I've been able to learn something from this, as well as the other people on the panel, as well as everyone else watching. So hope everyone learned something.
Yeah, that was fun. I did. I learned what an atheist was. I couldn't remember, and I had totally forgotten. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing your answers over there. And MathPig, you've been a beautiful host, my friend.
That's a given. Everybody's seen me. And we talk about our little lucky charms, and all our rainbows.
Just do the lucky charms.
And me lucky charms and our spuds and all that sort of shit. Right, he's clicked the link, he fucking ran off. Spartan, shill the shit out of your channel, because you are. If I'm gonna share with a Christian who's unsure about how to define their beliefs, you're the motherfucker that I always shill. So make yourself look good.
Well, yeah, I didn't have too much to say on this stream, but whatever, we're getting. Well, hopefully I'll have more to say in the after party. But yeah, I appreciate it. MathPig's awesome, so everybody watching this already knows that. But yeah, I'm trying to do more on my channel, so check it out. Who knows what'll show up, but I'll probably make some Christians mad. That's what I've been doing lately, and it's been kind of fun. So I'm a Christian who likes to make other Christians mad, so if that sounds interesting to you, check it out.
If that's not reason enough to just go over there and listen, then I don't know. But yeah, again, huge shout out to Skeptic Skeleton. Just hit the fucking button. He doesn't make that many videos. You're not going to get tortured with alerts. We're working on it. I'm really bad at this. Are working on a video. Sorry?
No, I said that's okay.
Yeah, they are working on a video. It's coming out very, very soon. Hasn't been one in 6 months. So click the video, click the link, click subscribe. You're not going to get tortured that much. They're not that sort of. They're just going to produce good quality, good discussions, breaking down stuff. Ethan, you should definitely have them on. You should have a great conversation. He's really, really. I think both the way that you both look at each different point of view. Skeptic is very analytical, as yourself. You're a wee bit more passionate about it. I think that could be a fun, bouncy back and forth discussion. But yeah, everybody click the link that I have posted. I've lost it, so I don't know where it is. I'll pin it. There we go. It's pinned. Click that. Move over. Skeptic. My man. This, that. Alright. Brilliant. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Everybody, thanks for coming by the pigsty. Thanks for all the subscribers, the members, the super chats, and everybody. It really, with the cost of living as it is, everybody that donates to the channel is helping me get by. Really, 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 really appreciate it. Other than that. On that note, don't forget to think for yourselves, and if I can find the right button, we will go with the outro, which is hopefully going to be replaced soon.
Nothing happened.
I haven't started it yet. I'm going over now. I'm saying bye. Thanks.
Okay.
Running the outro. Bye.